Okay, welcome back. Another
Thank you.
Unclicked podcast
Yep.
with
Stoked to be here.
we got
Glad you're
Demarcus
here.
Paul,
Hello.
Yeah.
Ratty Maty,
Hello.
no last name included.
No last name included.
That's
So,
for secret stuff,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
If you know, you know.
We'll talk about that maybe,
Yeah,
maybe, and then brought to you by Traction Coffee, Unclicked. Got to get it on screen actually,
That's what my turn downs look like.
right?
Very unclick.
Same.
All right.
That's like, I'll just get it out of the gate. I don't care. I'll get a lot of hate for it. I don't do turn downs. And the only turn down I've ever clicked was an opposite one. And it was at my buddy Kaiser's house in his backyard. And I didn't know how to get out of it. So I ate shit. I like jumped the hip and was like, this is it. And then like boom, because it was my opposite way. So I was
you
fucked.
you clicked, but you didn't never.
I clicked, but I never got it.
You never
unclicked.
unclicked.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so $7 of every bag goes to a fund to get somebody out here, which is probably filled up, and I just need to stop focusing on other things and get that person out here. So
Garrett Burns.
Garrett Burns. I think we talked about that a little bit.
That's my vote.
Yeah.
Garrett Burns.
Ratty Maty.
Delicious coffee, by the way. I tried their
Yes.
Papua New Guinea. They sent me some. I was stoked.
Oh hell yeah.
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 Papua New Guinea and the Guatemala.
Yeah.
Very
So
nice.
Maddie works for a coffee company,
Yep.
Cafe Moto,
Yep.
out here in San Diego. Kind of. I mean, I know your role switched up lately. So,
Yeah, I might
but-
be going back and potentially doing like service and maintenance work for them, like on espresso machines. We can get into why that job switch is coming up in a little bit.
Yeah.
You know?
So, no bad thoughts. The little behind the scenes on the 270 thing should drop tomorrow. Probably. I had those kink dudes in town, and it just my life.
Yeah,
just
you had
got-
some
Yeah.
boys.
Guy.
Yeah,
Very busy guy.
I was pulled thin there for a little bit. But glad to have you on the official Unclicked. It's funny
Dude.
because Maddie sent me audio snippet that he had saved for a while. At some point, Dennis said like, "Oh, I'd like to get Maddie on Unclicked once the video part drops." And he's like, "Does this mean the video part's out? Does it mean I get to be on the podcast?"
do you want me to play it?
No, it's
Okay.
all right. It's all
Okay.
right. We know what Dennis sounds
It
like.
was well, just so listeners, you don't have to go back and like check it, but it was I don't even remember who was on it. It was just you and Dennis kind of just riffing,
Yeah.
and you had mentioned something about like if you want to go crazy or jump over people. Dennis was like, "Oh yeah, if you want to flow around, like go have a session with Maddie at OB," and you're like, "Well, Maddie doesn't really flow; he like jumps people."
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, "I've like legitimately seen him like jump over a skater who wouldn't move." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he went like, "Oh, side note, like when he's in here," but that was something where I still feel like a 16-year-old kid riding, you know. And then when I think of like, whoa, Dennis Anderson said that about me, I'm like, ooh, I got all
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. No,
so
I
I
get
went
that.
back and was like, I ain't gonna tell anybody that I'm gonna record this, but I'm gonna record this. And when I feel down, I'm playing that shit. And it's like 1 minute of confidence boost to the max. You know, I just feel so good after I listen to stuff like that.
I did a very similar. I brought up a story yesterday with the kink dudes that I did a gap up in North County at a school, and then Aiken came in like 8 months later or a year later or something and filmed the same gap, and I was like, that is the fucking best thing in the entire fucking planet.
Yeah.
I did
Nice.
something that
That
Aiken
Aiken
thought
thought.
was worth filming.
Yeah. Mhm.
And of course he did it. I think it was Switch,
Of course.
and it was and he made it look 1,000 times easier / better than
Yeah.
I did, but I was still like,
Still
it's
same
fucking
spot.
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
hang on. Before we get into
those
anything,
like compliments,
Yeah.
you know, like where some people would be offended, like, oh, but to me, I'm like, that was
well, there's
highlight
Yeah,
of my
that
ride.
I think
definitely
it's
highlight.
I think it's a different
Career.
We
Lack
come
of
from
career.
You do everything, so we
What
can add that.
career?
We can put that into your career.
All right, I gotta
thing.
ask: did you really do that rail on your 40th birthday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monday
Oh,
morning.
that was
Bro, I saw
so
that.
good,
Yeah.
Since you're
dude.
talking, it's like I saw that and it was like, wait a second, like so he just
I watched it so many
Sick.
times because I wanted to be like, okay, does he have the right like shin marks on,
Oh,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
to make sure it was this time
Yeah,
of your
no,
life?
it was. I turned 40 on Monday the 16th, and I woke up and we went to City Heights, and I jumped on the rails there a couple times from like 4 feet back, and I was
that
like,
rail's no.
Dude.
It's
I was
like,
like,
there,
oh,
you have to
let's go.
swerve into the
So-
run. It's like
no,
there's
see,
no
that's
straight
and it
run.
wasn't-
I
It's like-
cheated in that sense because
There's no cheating, though.
they trim the back, and then so you can like monster truck up, and then I wasn't planning on bringing a board, but Gary had one in his van, and he put a board across the little planter
little
thing,
circle,
and
yeah.
it literally was like Like it made the
Yeah,
run
it
up.
made the
It
whole-
made the
yeah.
run up because you had like SN either way, and I was like, that was like the most stressful part. And once he put the board down and I rode over it once, I was like, oh, this is easy. Like it literally just like
Straightforward.
it just made it
yeah.
nothing. Yeah, so it
That's
was like
sick,
3 or
though,
4 run
still.
ups. So
It's
we were
pretty
out.
serious.
Yeah,
It
still
was cool.
serious.
It was cool in the sense that we were like out in like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I literally
Boom.
got there, put the board down, 3 run ups. I think I bitched out once and then it done. You
Boom.
know,
It's
like,
pretty
yeah,
big
yeah,
rail, so.
yeah. I think it's no joke.
But
I
yeah,
want to go grind it. Like,
I'm gonna hire an EMT, and on my 50th
For your 50th?
birthday, I'm gonna go back and ice it.
I thought you were about to ice it when I watched it.
I know.
It's
I thought
like,
about it for a second.
That's
yeah.
so sick,
One
man.
second, I was like, no, just let's go.
dude,
let's
please,
go home. So.
please tell me that is like kind of a joke, but kind of serious.
That's mostly a joke.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's like
Well, we could
that's
get
like
you
90%
right. We'll
a
make
joke,
sure you
but we'll
get
see
it.
what it feel like when I'm 50.
Just wear
Fuck.
like the old chest protector
and
like,
see what the rail looks like.
Oh,
For
true.
10 years in San Diego is a long time for
Yeah.
a spot.
That's true.
So,
It is.
That's
as
true.
we know, we should do another one of those 30-year videos. By the way.
Interesting that you bring that up. Carlo Wick.
Yeah.
He asked one of the questions, and that was one of the things that I circled. So we'll touch base on that.
Yeah.
But I want to change gears. I had this little Buddha's little instructional book. It's like it's from Jack Cornfield. He's like a Buddhist teacher and everything up in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
But these have some really amazing, just like quotes and like inspirational type things. And I would like you guys to just turn to a random page. Like the back, like 5 or 6 pages are all like just writing stuff. So don't turn to like the very back
In the center.
But just open this up, see what whichever page you land on, and if you want to read it out loud, cool. If not, internalize it, but then talk about what you think about it.
I might
This
keep
is
it to
something-
Email
myself.
first.
What?
So I might keep it to myself if that's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. But show me, please.
All right.
If you want to read it out loud, that would be nice for everybody. But you can keep what it means to you to yourself.
Karma can change life like the swish of a horse's tail.
Nice. And we talked about horses earlier too.
We did.
I'm gonna go like page. I'm gonna go page
You
3.
can't stare at it. Oh, I guess you
Yeah.
could.
Most of the sorrows on jeez, I can't even read. Most of the sorrows of the earth humans cause for themselves.
Hmm.
That is very valid.
Yeah.
Imaginary
Change life
problems.
Like a swish of a horse's
And I've turned this thing a million times, so I usually do it backwards just to kind of see what I get.
Ah.
Calm and compassion are so precious. Make sure to not lose them through intoxication. Oh, love that one. That's a good
pretty
one.
sick.
Mhm.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
That
I actually
book
don't.
is really
That's
sick.
one of the reasons why I don't really like to drink that much.
Yeah?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't really like to lose control.
Yeah.
Once I get a buzz, oh man, it's kind of like, all right, let's keep it going. This feels good. Let's roll. But before that, I'm like, no, have control, have focus, all that stuff. But
No,
thank you
understandable.
for doing that with
Yeah,
me.
of course. What you moved to San Diego like 5 years ago?
6.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that first session at Memorial. I think that we rode together, and it was like, oh, who's this dude? Switch handers,
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
It definitely had your style. Where are you originally from? Where exactly?
Originally from Cottonwood,
Cottonwood.
Seawood. It's everyone knows Redding
Uh-huh.
as like the bigger town.
Yeah.
Cottonwood's like 30 minutes south of it, real small little podunk kind of country town.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
a
then
lot of sticks.
where do you ride in Podunk?
Oh man,
Sticks.
Podunk.
Yeah, I mean,
Cottonwood.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
we rode. Let's see. So we were a little too young to go ride Dave Royce's jumps. He had jumps. We called those the White Oak Skulls. That was like their little group. And so we were pretty small. So we just like rode Caldwell Skate Park, which is in Redding.
is that it's like rolled?
Yep.
Okay.
It's I don't think it's mimicked after Santa Rosa Skate Park, but it is super close to Santa Rosa.
Okay.
That's what I've
Yeah.
heard throughout
Maybe
the
same
years.
builder or something.
Yeah, like no vert.
Yeah.
The only vert is one part
It's
of the
pretty
quarter.
fun though, but it's small.
Dude, it's
Yeah.
super fun.
Yeah.
Honestly, everyone talks so much shit about that park. I love that park.
Yeah.
It's because I grew up there.
Yeah.
There's so many lines. It's like OB.
Yeah.
There's so many lines there that haven't been done. And if you go there with the right mentality, you can figure them out. It's just, there's insane shit there. There's even a gnarly tree ride that I finally did. Took me until I was like 2 years ago is when I finally did it. But I saw Jim Reinstra try it. And the tree, let's see, where's the camera? So the quarter is like a shitty little quarter like this, and the tree's kind of angling back. So
Like an oververt.
yeah, kind of like an oververt. And Jim Reinstrick came there with like Glenn Peepee Mulligan,
Milligan.
Milligan, my bad.
It's all good.
I forgot who else he was with.
Glenn watches the podcast, so he'd be like, "Why didn't you correct him?"
I'm sorry, Glenn. It was so long ago.
There's two of them almost, but it's like, yeah.
But Jim went up, jumped off the quarter. It's not even a quarter; it's like an embankment. Went off the bank and like landed both tires perfectly so many times, but he just couldn't get that pull back in.
Yeah.
You know, and that was all of us young kids going like, "Oh my God, there's a tree that you can hit."
Yeah.
You know, it was like, "What? Who is this guy?" So that was really sweet to see that. We grew up riding that place, and then started building our own jumps. You know, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I was like progressing a little faster than some of my friends, and I noticed the jumps at Dave Royce's house, and so I cruised over there and started making friends with them. I mean, I was like the runt of that group, but they just all took me under their wings and were like, "This is how you ride big jumps." You know,
Cool.
I mean, these were serious jumps for our age.
Yeah.
Took me forever just to get through the first little section, you know, and then that was 20 seconds from my house.
Wow.
So I'd pedal down there and
20
ride
seconds?
20 seconds.
Oh wow!
Like if you drove 20 seconds, if you pedaled 2 minutes.
Wow.
It was so close.
That's
you know?
crazy.
And I mean, and this is like a neighborhood where my mom's yard was like 2.5 acre plot.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like 2.5 acre plot, 3 or 4 acre plot. So it was like pretty decent gaps in between houses, and you had tons of space. So it was like, if you rode down the street, you only passed 3 homes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't like a subdivision, stuff like that, where there's like 30 homes that you pass.
Yeah.
And so Dave had a bunch of jumps in the backyard. And then when I got to be about 16, I built a ramp. Well, my mom's male friends, who were probably doing, they're her male friends.
Yeah.
They helped me build the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like I had like a little street section because I had like a 3-stair and a couple little drops in my backyard based off the patio.
That's so sick.
It was super fun. And we'd put like boards on them to make it a bank and everything. But I had the ramp there, and it was 5'7" with like 6 inches of vert. And we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like the ramp would flex.
The male fans, the male friends were not ramp builders.
No. These guys had like beer guts and stuff. You know what I mean? They had beer guts. They didn't know what they were doing. But I was the only one that had a ramp. We had angle iron for the coping. It was hilarious. And that was back in the Brian Wismerski peg chink days. So like I was doing peg chink up to tire grab to peg chink down, like everything you could do peg chink wise. But it was really fun to be able to ride trails all day and come home, and I'd turn on we had lights out there, and we'd ride the ramp. And I mean, that was just like the best way to grow up, you know. And I had a pond, so when it was warm enough, we would pond jump and just, you know, put a couple like old 2-liter bottles empty on the side of the fork and jump in, and the bike would float and everything.
Cool.
So it was like, it was rough in terms of skate park exposure, but it was good in terms of finding your own creative stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a spot, anyone from
kind of the freestyle aspect. I feel
100%.
Like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't have that many outside influences out of like kind of boredom and making do type thing.
Yeah. And we would go ride street. We would just ride the 3 miles into Cottonwood, into the main downtown part. And there was Napa Auto Parts had a little pavement bank to a curb, and like we'd session the piss out of that thing, you know. And anytime I went and rode street, I'd take off my brake lever and my brake cable because I felt like it just made me, it just like pushed me more, you know. So that was fun. But other than that, like Northern California was kind of dead for bikes. Like not Northern California, but our little area. And so when we got to be about 14 and 15, we'd go to Oregon. My mom would take us there almost every weekend of every summer. We'd go to Ashland, Talent, Grants Pass. You know, she'd like sleep in her car while we're riding the skate park. It was amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
and she'd bring all of us. We went to Burnside when we were like 16.
And that's no short drive, because even from Redding, that's still like an 8-hour drive, right?
No. It's 2 hours.
To Portland?
To Portland, it's 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. To Redding to Ashland is 2.
Yeah.
So it was super close. I don't think the Mount Shasta skate park was built then, or we didn't even know about it. The Weed skate park might have been built then, but we didn't know about it, you know. It wasn't until a little bit later.
What were the early days of like showing up to those parks? Because obviously that was like skateboard, BMX Jihad prime time.
So I never had any issues in like the northern area.
So the people
of
that
California.
don't, just so people don't know, that was like when Thrasher came out with this article called BMX Jihad or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was
I
like
didn't even
that
know
was like
about
the
that.
skate,
Oh, yeah.
skate hate, just like basically why we were whack.
Yeah.
You know, like
Straight up.
and so it just
in writing diss.
yeah, it just inflamed a strained relationship anyways, and kind of like gave skaters like
More room to hate bike
yeah.
riders.
So that was like in Oregon. Same for us is like we would show up to, we would drive up to Oregon just to ride a couple of parks for the weekend, and that was like a 14-hour drive for us. And then we'd get kicked out of parks the entire time.
Yeah,
and
or
just
just get heckled the whole time.
Yeah, and we would we would lose our shit. You
Yeah.
know, like, oh, we just fucking drove all the way the fuck up here.
You're not shutting us down.
Yeah, so
It was pretty mellow at the beginning, I would say. I mean, the worst it got was the first time we rolled up to Burnside.
Yeah.
It was like 2:00 in the afternoon.
Oh yeah.
We had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, my mom's in like a Subaru. We have like 5 bikes on the top and or 2 on the top, 3 in the back type thing.
Yeah.
And we roll up and we're going all slow. And I'm like, oh, I think it's right here. And we're all wide-eyed looking out the window, and all we see are skaters. Everybody stopped and just stared at us. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is weird. And we pull over to, just a park, and I get out, and someone, I don't know if he was a skater or what, but he was like, yo, you should probably come back really early in the morning, like 7 a.m. And I was like, why? He's like, that's when the bikes come. And I go, oh, okay. And I just told my mom, like, I don't think we're going to have a good time here.
Yeah.
We should go do something else and then come back in the morning. And sure enough, come back in the morning, 7 a.m. There's already like 6 guys, and it was awesome.
That's
it was
cool.
fun.
That's
that was the
sick,
first
yeah.
place that I ever heard people with noisy brakes.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, "Rah!" So I called them PLs for Portland locals. And so now every time I brake squeeze, I'm like, oh, PL. I just always think of that. And then there was one time at Medford, this like, we called him like a pirate skater because he had a weird way of pronouncing his R's. And he was just, he was tearing into us. And we were like 14, but he was being a total dick. And I ride over to my mom and I was like, hey, this guy is just like really not making it fun for us. And so she just got out of the car and walked over and just started talking to him. He was kind to her. He was kind of a jerk, but he completely changed his emphasis with where he was being upset and just started talking to her. Talked to her for 2 hours. And we rode the whole time.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was like, oh.
She killed him with kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just like hung out. I mean, he wasn't even skating as much. He was just sitting there talking to my mom while we're riding.
Yeah.
So,
That's cool. Shout out to mom.
But
right.
Yeah.
But I've actually been super grateful. I haven't really had too much skate hate.
Yeah.
Because I think I caught on at an early age. Like if you show up with an attitude, you're most likely going to get an attitude back.
Yeah.
And so I would just show up and like, if I saw a skater do something that I didn't understand, but it looked cool, I'd always give them props, always clap for them, even give them a high five if they were close, And then once I felt comfortable with a certain spot, I would just do a weird trick, like a switch hander, and they'd be like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And then they would instantly be like, all right, this kid seems like he's all right.
Yeah.
And then it was
you
fun.
talk about that too. Like you get out of the situation what you put in, because I feel like you have random interactions with people all the time, and it's like it's like if they come in nice and they talk to you and ask for permission, you don't need to hide your cell phone to film, and I won't.
Exactly. And that's on a pedestrian standpoint. So even to me, skaters are like pedestrians because they like a lot of them don't understand bike riding, but at the same time, it's like, well, if a random person walking by, they want to film a crew of people and they're secretly doing it, I call them out about it. It's like, you could just ask.
Yeah.
If you don't ask, I'm not gonna let you do it.
Yeah.
Even though you have all the rights to do it.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, but similar. If you have that kind of respect line, then it's like, all right, cool. Like you said, if you see him do something cool and you clap, give him a high five, and even if he don't really accept it, but if he's like, oh, sick, like then you do something that they're psyched on, it kind of creates that like, all right, we can mesh here.
We can be here at the same level using the same course.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe that it made me think like, oh yeah, maybe I came in with an attitude. Because
hearing that,
I could have. I mean, that's very likely.
For me personally, I can apply a little bit of that to myself because I've been trying to be a little bit more lenient when it comes to those situations. But hearing that is like, all right, DeMarcus, practice it a little bit. Don't be so rough on him all the time.
And it's not easy.
No, yeah.
Like I have a thing where I like that you said something about if you see someone filming, you'll like call them out on it. I'm the same way. If there's a camera pointed at me, maybe it's not even me. Maybe they're filming something behind me, but no one looks at me for free. That's like my rule. Mm-hmm. If you're going to look at me, and especially with a camera, I'm going to do something. I'll flash my little boobies at you or something, you know, or like I'll slap my ass or like I'll do a little jig and you'll be like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, your camera's pointed at me. Like, what do you expect? Oh, I was trying to film the dog. I'm like, well, I'm in your line of shot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you something to look at later, you know? But that's just how it goes. Like, people don't realize how intrusive that feels.
Yeah.
To be the person being filmed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you have your head screwed on straight and you don't come at them like, yo, man, what's up? Like, if you're good about it, it's all fine. People understand.
No, sometimes it's just you can see that they're looking for somebody to fall almost like, or it's like, it's
or
like
do a trick like the dangle, like it's like your puppet or like
do
it
again,
circus or something, like do it again. It's like all
Yeah.
that kind of to me register when I see the phone come out and they're secretly doing it.
Yeah.
And I kind of like I'll be a little bit straightforward and like raw with them. It's like, hey, you can ask, or I just like shut them down. It's like, hey, no.
Yeah. I'm not a trick pony.
They're like, they look confused, you know? So, but like you said, you can literally change that by your actions and how you take it. So, like I said, I'll try to apply some of that.
And it's
what
not,
you're doing.
it's not easy, man.
It is.
You know, especially living in a city.
Is Cottonwood the only place you ever lived other than San Diego?
No, I've lived a lot. I feel like I'm
So
ancient.
I don't
So,
know.
long story short, I was 18 and just wasn't picking up the right vibes from my area.
Mm-hmm.
No hard feelings towards those guys. They kept drinking and kept staying in that lane, and like I wanted to grow, and like something was internally getting me revved up to get out, you know. That area is predominantly white, predominantly Christian. I needed to get out of it and be submerged around people that are not me. You know, like, I mean, I'm not a Christian, I'm white, but like I needed to be around diverse, yeah. Like I just needed to be around diverse situations. So I slightly hitchhiked across the country.
What?
Brought my bike with me. Yeah, it was my terrible one frame I had at the time, and made it to Connecticut, and then left my bike at a friend's house. Told them I was like, hey, I'll come back for it. I'm just trying to get down to Florida real quick. I knew a couple people in Florida, and there was also a girl from Facebook that I was like excited about. Or Facebook? No, it was MySpace back then. Yeah, we were like chatting on
top 8.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like one of those things where like, all right, I'll go down there, like kind of just rough it and see how it goes, you know. Roxy, get up.
There she is.
And she was trying to come up on me earlier, but I was like, it's a little too soon. You don't need the limelight right now. Made it down to Florida.
There'll be no cat appearances with Roxy here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cat's not even in the room.
Yeah.
Made it down to Florida. Went to the first spot was in Lakeland where I was kind of hanging out, and I think that's where Edward Scissorhands was filmed.
I've been to Lakeland. It's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Florida was crazy, dude.
Florida
Like
is
I tried to lay down on the grass, and like the grass is like fingers. It's not soft grass like we're used to here. So
Florida scissor grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weather was crazy. Like Florida rain is unreal. But I was in Florida for about 10 months. I spent 7 of those months in Tallahassee, lived right next to FSU. This was back when I was smoking cloves, dude. Like I was smoking tobacco, like drinking, you know, I was in a totally different headspace. But I was grateful that I had like the courage, I guess, to get out of my hometown. And I mean, before
it's the opposite too. Like you come from NorCal all the way to the corner.
And
Florida.
One of the guys I worked with at this place called where was I? Oh, that was at Boston Market. I worked at Boston Market there.
Shout out to Biz. He loves Boston Market.
Does he?
So yes. Yeah. Always talking about it. Yeah.
That's amazing. I try to set a goal to myself to like never work at a fast food place. Not that I'm like better than that, but I just wanted to try to do something different. And then I realized Boston Market is exactly what that is. But it's like a slightly more upscale.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Quick service restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the cooks there, he was this rad black dude that we would like smoke weed with every once in a while. And he asked me for a ride home one time. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I'm driving him home, and we start getting into like a real sketchy feeling part of town. And I pull up, and he's like, stop right here. We're like in the middle of the street, and like straight up a swarm of dudes come up, you know, because they'd never seen this car before. And he had to call out like, yo, it's cool, it's me. Like, he's with me. And I'm like, this is crazy, dude. Like, where the fuck are we? And then once they realized I was giving their friend a ride home, it was all chill. And it's like, that kind of stuff never happened in Cottonwood.
Yeah.
You know, I never had to think about stuff like that. And I kind of loved it because I love being I love being against someone in their mind, or someone is against me in their mind, and then not killing them with kindness, but just being so different than what they assume, you know, and then winning them over.
Yeah.
That's what I enjoy.
That
you
kind
know,
of link in with like the skateboard thing you were saying.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, because at that time I'm wearing even tighter pants than I wear now. You know, I had probably more like emo kind of hair and stuff. I wasn't
completely different from the surrounding at the moment. Yeah.
Super different, but you can still win people over, you know? And so that got me excited. I also broke down once in like deep Louisiana, and I was the only white person that I could see. And I just remember people in my past, like being afraid, you know? And I was like, what are you afraid of? Like, they're just humans, you know? And the best way to edge that, to like close that gap, is just to go talk, you know. And I was like, I got a broken down car. I got to figure out where I'm headed and where I can go to get this worked on. And it was the easiest thing in the world. So I think leaving my hometown, leaving that like comfort bubble of what you're familiar with, really helped me be open to everything.
Kind of, and it gave you courage to like to take on those situations, even when you're scared. It's
I mean,
like,
dude, once I had that car, so I went out to the East Coast first without a car, and then made enough money in Florida to fly back home, buy my old friend's car.
Sick.
It was like $1,200. He sold me this Honda Accord for, and I drove it back out, and like I would sleep in my car, you know, and I got really comfortable with that. Rewind to when I was 7, my parents split up, and probably the only respect I'll ever give my dad was that he taught me how to just live out of a backpack, you know, because he bought an RV and he was like, hey, your mom and I are going to do this thing. I didn't know what divorce was when I was 7, but he parked it outside of our house in Cottonwood, my mom's house. And he'd be like, hey, you want to sleep with me in the RV tonight? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Like, we're like camping, you know? And then after a couple of weeks, he'd move it a couple miles away. He'd be like, yeah, you want to sleep in the RV again? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then it just kind of became a constant where I'm like, I grabbed my bag, I got my stuff, I'm going to go stay with dad, you know?
Yeah.
And I got really into living out of a backpack and just knowing that I can fill a little bag full of stuff and be good wherever I am. I mean, when I was holding down jobs in Oklahoma, which is one of the places I stayed, Oklahoma City, I was working at a place called Irma's Burger Shack, and I didn't have a place to sleep. So I was sleeping in a parking garage on the ground because my car was a little too small. And I would just have my alarm clock on the curb and like set it for when I had to wake up, and just sleep on the ground in my sleeping bag and like roughed it. But it wasn't that big of a deal. You know, I didn't see it as like, oh, I'm homeless.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I just saw it as like, this is a fun challenge, and like, am I up for it? You know, and even now I find myself falling asleep on my floor at home, and I'll just sleep the whole night on my floor because it's just, I don't know. I like to challenge myself in ways that a common person who would be in my position would never even think to do it. You know, like you would never think to maybe sleep without a top sheet. Well, why don't you try it once? Not that big of a deal. Why don't you try to get rid of your pillow? Have you ever tried to sleep without a pillow? Not that hard, you know, but just little things like that. And so it was really fun to challenge what I was used to. And then you start realizing like, oh, life isn't that crazy. Like,
and then there was a period, so you did kind of 2 or 3 years like that, and then you went to a far off land.
Southeast Asia.
Yeah. So and you did how many?
I was in Southeast Asia for 2 months.
Oh, okay, not that long.
No.
I thought it was longer. A little bit, so.
No, it was. So I moved. So I went to Florida. Blah blah blah. Florida was like whatever, and then I went back home real quick, and then I went to Oklahoma, stayed there for a bit, and then I stayed in Denver for a small little window, stayed in Portland for a small window, came back home, and that's when I moved over to Humboldt County.
Okay.
My mom moved over there. She was seeing this guy. And I moved over there and started going to massage school. And so I went to massage school for a year there. And then things kind of changed. And it was like, dude, Humboldt County, I love that place. It's super gorgeous and everything, but it's just a bunch of white people with dreads who all think the same thing. So I had the exact same feeling as Cottonwood.
Yeah, Cottonwood, yeah.
It was like, I mean, I moved to Humboldt with dreadlocks, and then I cut them immediately because I'm like, I hate being just like everybody else. It's very frustrating for me to be like everyone else. And so I chopped them off and blah, blah, blah. And then I needed to leave. And one of my friends was like, dude, you got to go to Southeast Asia. It's so cheap. You know, just the most expensive thing is the plane ticket. There was like $1,000 for a, not one way, round trip.
Yeah.
And I just set it for 2 months. And I was like, screw it. It was amazing. It was so fun. Went to Ho Chi Minh is where I flew in, old Saigon, and then made my way up to that's southern Vietnam, made my way up to northern Vietnam, and then went up into Laos. And then I thought I was going to stay there. I really wanted to be like in the deep cuts of a foreign country where I'm the only white person, you know. I ended up meeting 5 other solo travelers from like Germany, from like Uruguay, like all these other places. And I'm like, oh my God, these guys are.
Did you meet them in Laos?
I met them in northern Vietnam.
Okay.
And then it was kind of like on the bus ride over in through Laos, I met them. And then they were like, hey, we're going to go to Thailand. Do you want to go to Thailand? I'm like, I don't have a visa. They're like, you don't need a visa for Thailand. I'm like, oh, okay. So I just, at the drop of a hat, rerouted what I was going to do. Because there's certain moments where it's like, I love being solo, but then there's other moments where, goddamn, I wish I had people with me.
Yeah.
You know? And
so did you even have like, you're going for 2 months. Did you have like anything booked, or was
Nope.
it literally just like?
I had the first hostel booked because I was super nervous about the first couple nights.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had like maybe 3 nights booked. That was it.
Yeah.
And then everything else was like, oh, this is not that hard.
Yeah.
Like you just get to a spot, you can go motorbike, and someone will come pick you up. You know, and you just haggle everything there.
Do you have to say it exactly like that?
Motorbike, like that, yeah. Or they want, if you say motorbike, they're like, what is this guy doing? But I got not screwed, but I learned the hard way. The very first motorbike ride I took, landed at the airport at like 2:00 in the morning, and there was this older white guy who was on the flight, and we're both sitting out in like the front. They closed the airport down. They're like, you can't be in the airport. We're all done. Be outside.
Yeah.
So we're outside. It's like 3 a.m. now. We got our bags and everything. And I'm talking with him, and I'm like, what are you going to do? And he's like, I'm just going to stay here till sun comes up, and then I'll figure it out. And I'm like, for real? And he's like, yeah, like it's 3:00 in the morning. Like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I looked at my map, I didn't have internet. So like I had like screenshots on my phone, and I could tell like, okay, the rough idea is I need to go this direction.
Yeah.
And so I just started walking. I was like, all right, man, well, good luck. And I just started walking at 3 a.m. And it got to a point where there were so many people coming by me asking if I needed a ride that finally I was like, sure, I'll take a ride.
Yeah.
And I showed him where I was going. He dropped me off there, and it was like a $5 charge. I realize now I could have only paid like $1. Like, he made some money off of me on that ride. So that was like whatever.
Yeah.
After that, it was like, no, I'll give you 20,000 dong.
I think everybody learns that lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where my really good friend Sequoia, who's the one who told me to go, he was like, I'm not going to tell you. You're just going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And he knows that I'll be able to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up just doing that. But meeting up with those other people, with those 5 other solo travelers, I was like, all right, this is when you redirect. Regardless of what plan you think you had in your head, this is going to be a different connection. Mm-hmm. So I just went with them, and we went into Thailand, had so much fun. There was like a water festival going on. I mean, I've never seen that many 7-Elevens are like cockroaches in Thailand.
I love the way that sounds. 7-Eleven.
Oh my God. I was like, this is Thailand.
They've infected the world.
Dude, we were in a plaza area, and you could see 3. We were at one, and we could see 2 other. Like within, I'm like, that's
amazing.
This is insane. It is amazing. But at the same time, you're thinking you're in this foreign country, and
he's like, wait a second. This is very,
like, what? 7-Eleven? Like, all right. So then went from Thailand down into Cambodia, and went to Angkor Wat. Got to see all the statues and like crazy sculptures. It was amazing, dude. I shaved my head. I shaved all my hair off before I went to that trip because I wanted to be like,
could not imagine you
new and fresh. I know. Well, it's kind of coming up. I have this like
cleansing phase.
I say 7 years, but there's no real date to it. But yeah, like a cleansing phase. Like when I shaved my beard, it was just one of those things where we were going through a crazy moment as like a world, with the pandemic and everything, and like being shut in. And I needed to do something that I saw a difference in. And so I just was like, I'm just gonna shave my face. And then I crashed and split my fucking lip open the next week.
I saw that comment was pretty funny. It was like God's punishment for shaving your beard, or something like that.
Really. Some of those comments, man, I'm like, okay, you lost me. Now I need to stop commenting back to you.
So,
but they're just little moments like that, and so that was one of those times where I went over there, where everyone else who saw me was like, oh, this is what this guy looks like, but everyone who knew me was like, you look crazy, dude. Like you look so weird, But it felt good just to be kind of rebirthed in a way. came back with a whole different perspective on life and was just like, wow, all the things that we get so caught up with. What do you like? Why am I so caught up with this?
Yeah.
You know, and just seeing and meeting the people there was incredible. I would always, anytime I'd find myself in a spot with a lot of other tourists, I would immediately pack up and walk away.
Yeah, same.
Like
I
immediately.
do the same. Yeah,
because you subconsciously start going into a spot and you're like, oh, okay, you're like sitting down having a coffee and you're kind of looking around and you're like, where the fuck are all the Vietnamese people?
yeah.
It's like
I'm
it's
like, what?
defeating the purpose of being here almost.
Yeah, and I really like having like a racquetball with me or like a tennis ball. And I had 2 of them in my bag. And so I would take one of them out and walk down the alleyways. And the alleyways there are like, you can touch them, you know? And I'd like throw the ball off of stuff and just bounce and just to entertain myself. Well, I threw one and it went really weird, like down this little spot and I couldn't see it. So I'm like running over
It's
to
like a
find
movie
it.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this little kid grabbed it and he picks it up and he like handed it to me. And I was like, oh, thanks. And then I like bounced it for him and he like was like handball hitting it. And so we're hitting it and stuff. And then all of a sudden, more of the kids who he was playing with kind of started coming around and we just had like a fun little ball game. Like, I don't even know what it was. And then one of the parents like was doing this to me and I came in and we had dinner. What? And it was like 15 of these kids, this awesome random place. And I had dinner and like these awesome little candy things that they made. And then you walk back over to catch your boat to wherever you're going. And everyone there is just like, where have you been? And I'm like, I just went and had dinner with a Vietnamese family. They're like, what?
And then they're like, well, all I got was a shirt that says I went to Vietnam. Like literally, like, you know, which would you rather have?
Yeah.
You know, like it says so much because there's so many. There's a story of a guy on a trip and the TM, they ended up staying at somebody's house and the rider complained about the food. And at some like at a family's house that they made him, and they're like, yeah, this food is horrible, and he was just like super ungrateful, and it like really put that rider in a box for the TM because he was like, dude, you don't get the dynamic of this, like it ain't about the food.
Yeah, it's not about the food.
It's not about the food.
Yeah.
Like you miss the entire point of that. Yeah, and like. That dude got off the team.
Yeah.
You know,
Like
it was like because of other reasons, but it was like that's what he used as a way to sum up this person essentially. Like,
and it's
like, hey, let me tell you a story of why this guy's not on the team because this tells us how his personality was.
Adaptability is huge,
or just being ungrateful for the not. Sorry, it's not a steak or something of that effect up to your standards, but at the same time there's so much sentiment and real things happening and you're missing it. It's just right over your
outside
head.
Right now
Yeah.
you're seeing somebody that doesn't look like you, possibly from a different place, and you're like inviting them in to have some food.
Imagine.
Like,
Literally
it's
imagine.
Like
Imagine walking outside in America, finding your kid playing handball with a guy and then being so happy you invite him in for dinner. That is that alone is just the culture difference, and traveling is so important in so many unspeakable ways. You know, there's far smarter people out there that have summed it up way better than I would ever. But it is very, very important as growth for a person, as for appreciating life, and for memories and culture and, you know, everything else. Like,
I mean, I don't know what the correct saying is, but like, if you want to find yourself, go get lost.
Yeah.
You know, like
huge.
And I'm not talking about go walk down a street in your neighborhood you haven't walked down.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think that's what makes bike riding so good, because I've always said, like, walking is too slow, cars too fast.
Yep.
A bike is fucking perfect for being in another country, and like you're like, oh fuck it, let's see what's down this alleyway. It's gonna take me 15 seconds.
In Cambodia, I saw
maybe I'll find a spot. Maybe I'll play handball with a kid. You never know.
I saw a kid on a BMX in Cambodia.
Yeah.
And like I knew what I was getting myself into. I was going to be wet, humid, and that's what you were going to be.
Yeah.
So I didn't bring normal shoes. I brought like sandals, you know, that you could like hike in. And I see this kid's bike and I was like, yo, dude, I ride BMX. Can I do a 180 real quick? And I was like 180 on his bike, and he had never 180 before.
Yeah.
And he was like, what is this, dude? I'm like, I ride these back home, you know, and it was amazing. I want to touch base on the food thing though, as you just jarred a thought. I went to northern Vietnam. Sapa is like a really small little village, and they have these tours where you can go up there and you can kind of hang out in the village for a couple days. You stay there. You stay in like, it's like literally dirt floor, these huts, and they cook you food, a lot of bamboo shoots and stuff like that. Well, I was there. My roommate, I guess, like housemate, the other kid who was with me, 17-year-old kid from China. Already I'm like, bro, I'm so impressed with you. You're 17. I was 23 or 24. And I'm looking at him like, God damn, I wish I was doing that when I was 17.
Yeah.
And his parents were just like, go, you need to travel. You need to learn, you know? And so we're in this like essentially a hut. And the language barrier is unbelievable. Like we're both so destroyed, you know, we're doing so many pantomime things. Like I'd be like, I gotta pee. And they're like, over there, you know? Like, like, that was the
I
first
like the voice.
Yeah, that voice.
Well, the first thing, so one of the first things that I had to learn about like pantomiming was I walked into a place I really had to piss. And so I was like, fuck, what is bathroom again? Like I'm trying to look at the book and I can't figure it out. And I was like, bathroom? Toilet, and they were just like, I'm sorry, and I just grabbed my dick and was like, oh, and they were like oh, like right over there. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is easy. Like I figured that out. So the language barrier was super rough, but towards an evening, like I want to say it was the second evening, there was just tons of commotion, and they had a fire inside of their place. So if you picture like our ideal living room space, it was dirt floor, and there was a fire pit
Was it in the floor?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like just dead center fire pit. And there was a lot of commotion going on, and I started hearing like more and more voices outside. And all of a sudden, like 30 people come into this hut, and they're all around the fire. And this one guy comes in, and he has what I thought was a flying squirrel. Like it's what it looked like. It was like a flying rodent. It had the webbing in between its arms and stuff. And they explained to us, oh, one of the hunters killed this today, and it's like a celebration. So we're all going to sit here and have a meal. And when that thing was cooking, it was horrible smelling.
Oh God.
Oh my, like putrid.
Yeah.
And I made myself taste it. It was disgusting.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? I didn't spit it up.
Yeah.
I just said, thank you very much. I'll take bamboo. Like I'll just eat bamboo.
Yeah.
But I needed to taste the disgusting trash smell in the air. Like I needed to see what it was like, you know? But I mean,
and it's disrespectful at a point.
Super disrespectful,
Yeah.
you know? And then, you know, they lay us down and we get ready to go to sleep, and you wrap the bug net around you and you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. We were on a bed of straw, you know, like it was so cool. Like it was so fun.
And so did you have to pay to stay in a place like that?
Yeah, that was like you went through like a tour thing.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that money goes to help some of the villages and stuff.
Probably like half and half, or they did a split or something like that.
And they have they like make all their clothes and dye their fabrics and all this stuff. And they gave me a little piece of it's like super dark blue fabric and has like pink stitching on it. And I still have that. Like I just saved it, you know, just like random little things. But it's stuff like that. I would have never thought to say, oh no, I'm fine. I don't need that flying squirrel. Get that nasty shit out of my face.
Yeah.
I was like, no, let's see if that makes me puke. You know, right. Like, let's go. Because if I puke, then they'll be like, oh, damn. All right, maybe it's not good for him.
Yeah.
But if you just deny it, like, what else are you denying if you're so quick to shut things down?
Yeah.
You know, if you shut something down that fast, that is just a bite of food. What else are you shutting down energetically that's trying to come to you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is so. I mean, I go in so many different things. It's like the same in Japan, where you get the cook that comes and watches you eat, and you have to enjoy it. Yeah. Like you slurp your noodles as loud as possible, because that's a sign that you really like the food and you want to eat it fast.
That's
and it's
awesome.
like there's so many cultural things that it's just you gain such respect for the world going places. You know,
I think food specifically. I'm an only child. And not to dog on like my parents or my upbringing or anything, we never really had like dinners together.
Yeah.
That just wasn't a thing. You know, my mom would make food and she'd sit in the recliner and I'd sit on the couch and we'd watch TV.
Yeah.
We weren't even technically sharing a meal together. We were sharing with the TV, you know? Yeah. And so I revel in moments like that. I'm just like, if anybody invites me to a dinner party, I fucking love it, you know, because it's just something about being around people, socializing and eating food together.
People invite Maty over for dinner.
I'm starving.
DM him with your address and a time.
Let's go to dinner.
Be there. He will be there.
I'll be your plus one.
Turn the TV off. Boom. He's coming.
Trust me, I'll be entertaining. And so Vietnam And, Sally's Asia was just incredible. The first month was the longest month of my life. Then the second month was like, I have to go home. Like, I'm already ready to go back home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just got used to it, And then I came back home, and that just kind of...
So did you fly back to Humboldt at this time?
Yeah. Flew back to San Francisco. Got picked up there and came back home. And that just it just really helped to solidify things that I care about, And I've always been pretty frugal in terms of, I've had moments where I've made a grip of money and you would never notice it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, money is just this thing, I don't like to flaunt stuff. And that's also something else you learn about going into sketchy neighborhoods. If you flaunt stuff, you're going to, whatever energy you're putting out, people are looking back at that same thing, know? So I got really used to just living off of very little money. And then coming back from that just made me appreciate the small little interactions that you have throughout the day, or a really nice meal with someone, there was this older gay couple, one of them has passed since, who I would massage. I actually massaged the man who passed away. He passed away from AIDS. And him and his partner had my mom and my partner over for dinner, and they made hot Thai tea. And I've had Thai tea, but it's always iced.
Yeah.
Okay. Always iced. And he had the condensed milk, and it was the hot little beverage over here, and he poured in there and mix it. And I'll never forget that dinner.
Right.
And in the grand scheme of dinners I've had, it's slightly insignificant, but I'll never forget it. Because that was the first time I ever had hot Thai tea, and now I'm the weird American who goes to a Thai place and is like, "Hey, can I get that hot
Thai?" Yeah,
I'm gonna ask for a hot one next time.
Dude, it is so good.
I never had Thai tea at all.
Cold.
Never.
No.
Never had Thai tea.
No.
Don't. It's delicious. It's so good. Don't even start, man.
Yeah.
Because cold ones, I just suck them down too fast.
Yeah.
But there's something about seeing that condensed milk and stirring it up,
Yeah.
and it's a nice beverage is, I forget what the doing something where it's I'm trying to come up with a word, where you sit there and you spend time making it. It's like a meditation.
Rewarding in the sense, or there's some sort of
it's
cathartic.
Cathartic is a really good word for it.
Yeah.
And because most of us just go to Starbucks and stand in line. Hey, can I have that? Cool, boom, done.
Yeah.
But when you actually make your coffee, even if it's just a French press, there's just something different about it. It's more of a process. You care about it more. You're putting more energy into it, so I think you kind of get more out of it. But that's why I really appreciate nice dinners. So again, hit me up for a dinner,
Yeah. So back in Humboldt, and then did you continue traveling around the country, or what? I guess I'm just trying to get to San Diego.
Yeah.
That's my interviewer is my.
Yeah. No, you're doing great.
Director. Thanks.
I was in San Diego for just a few months actually before I started school for massage therapy. And
why were you in San Diego?
Or did I say San Diego? I meant Humboldt. My bad.
Okay.
I was in Humboldt, and I was in Arcata, and that's where I went to school. And I had already known a couple friends there because of riding bikes, like Andy Fitzgerald was there, Rob Jensen, Skoy Falk. So I knew those guys. And one of our mutual friends had a girlfriend who was like, I gotta set you up with my friend, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, everyone says that, And we were never able to have the friends set us up. But I ended up meeting this woman in the plaza, the main spot in Arcata. And we just didn't stop hanging out, and we've still been together. It's been over 10 years now. And after 4 years, she was like, I want to further my career, and I want to go to San Diego. It's the biotech mecca. She has a biology degree. And I'm like, all right, well, good luck down in SoCal. It was woo, see ya.
Right over your head.
Yeah, it's been fun having sex with you, I guess. Good luck. And she was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, SoCal, nah, I don't vibe with SoCal. Northern California, SoCal, there's always been this weird divide,
Yeah, they're two completely
I feel like that's
places,
NorCal's thing, though.
It's NorCal's problem.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I'll say this since we're talking about that. I like that, being that you traveled a lot, and when you were talking about where you grew up at, how the houses are so far apart, it's very similar to where I'm from. So I feel like if you're from small places like that, Southern California is kind of one of those things where it's no, people are like this.
Yeah.
I don't want to go. And I could see that from NorCal being, they are completely different. And coming here, it's houses on houses. And Yeah.
We basically were of the mindset of anything below San Francisco was all LA, like LA mentality through and through, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd been down here when I was 14. I went to Claremont when it was back then and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm 14.
Yeah.
I'm not paying attention to the nuances of people's
Yeah.
attitudes and stuff. I'm riding my bike and eating McDonald's, you know?
Right.
And so we decided to take a little week-long trip to come down and just check it out. And I was like, damn, this is San Diego. Holy shit. Like we went to Ocean Beach, one of the first spots. We slept in the back of my truck on Fiesta Island and then went to OB like the very next morning. And we're walking around Newport and all that stuff. And I'm like, this feels like Arcata. This feels like Humboldt just on steroids. You know, it's just more people. Yeah. And so I realized like, all right, well, you have to take chances in life. And we moved. And dude, best decision of my life ever.
Here you are.
And that was one of the things. I skipped over the Boston part when I moved to Boston. We went to Boston for a small little stint, and that was my choice. We had met. We were together for 6 months, and I was like, hey, I have an opportunity to massage out of a dance studio in Boston. I knew somebody who managed that dance studio. I was like, let's go do it. And she went with me. I told her, I was like, I'm going to go whether you come or not, but if you want to go, you're more than welcome to. And we drove out there, and it was an amazing road trip out. And then I got there, and it was not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It was like pushing 2 couches together in a dance studio for a bed, cooking on my camp stove.
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought this was going to be like a different setup.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up getting like a different job somewhere, and we ended up subletting and all this stuff. And then it was college season, and it was so hard to find a place to live.
Yeah.
And it was middle of September, you know, winter's coming. I can deal with sleeping in my truck, but I can't subject a partner to that.
Yeah.
That is fucked up.
Yeah.
So after cramped and sleeping in the truck for a couple weeks, trying to see if we're going to figure this out, I looked at her and I was like, we got to go. Like, let's just go home. So we just went back to Humboldt, restarted. And then that's when, like a year or two after that of saving, San Diego popped up.
So did she have a job lined up in San Diego already?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope. She had schooling lined up. You know, she like knew what she was going to do. She already had her bachelor's degree. She just wanted to further some stuff. Yeah. And so she came down here and actually did a motorcycle training class right out of the gate because she wanted to get a motorcycle and like do all this stuff. I'm like, all right, that's sweet. And she just, I mean, it's been 6 years, so it just goes to show you the timeline. She just landed essentially more along the lines of her dream job last year. Nice. And she's stoked, dude.
That's sick.
She's crushing it.
Congrats on that,
dude. Straight up, because at first, from an outsider's perspective, or at least from our perspective, it looked like I was the one crushing it because she kept getting these like bullshit jobs in her field, but doing paperwork. Right. You know, like she wants to be a lab rat. Like
jobs those things will knock you down in the sense of like if you are trying to pursue a specific thing, then like having to do stuff like that and deal with people.
Oh like, yeah. She hated it. She'd come home and be like, I'm like, you just gotta stick to it, you know? And she looks at me and she's like, yeah, but you're doing all this stuff. I ended up getting like 5 jobs in the first 6 months that I worked here. I was doing door-to-door solar stuff, so I was knocking on people's doors, which I didn't even know that was a business until coming down here. I found a job fair the second month that we were here. I was already a massage therapist out of a gym and a yoga studio, but I wasn't making enough to pay rent. So we were blowing through our savings fast. And I found this job fair, and I decided, I was like, hey, you need a job. Let's go down here. We rode our bikes. It was downtown at the Embassy Suites. And we go to walk in, and I'm wearing a vest, but I'm not wearing like a leather vest, like a nice like dress vest, but I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts. And the guy stops me, and he's like, hey, man, you're not professionally dressed. You can't come in here. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not actually interviewing. Like, it's only for my partner. Like, I'm just here for support, so it's all good. But I was like just sweet talking with him, and then he was like, all right, man, like you can walk around, just don't interview with anybody. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And he like kept his eye on me for a minute, you know. He was like really testing me, and I'm around suits, like literally other people are in suits, so I stuck out a lot. I had like a crazy fedora on and stuff. And he turned his back, dude, and I saw this logo, and I just like popped in. Like the logo just drew me in, and it was this 25-year-old kid in flip flops, you know, and in shorts, and I was like, yo, I just got made fun of because I couldn't be in here in shorts. And he was like, well, then how are you here? And I'm like, I squeezed past him. What do you mean? He was like, perfect. What we're doing is we're door knocking, you know.
Fucking solar salesman, dude. I fucking hate those guys.
And I didn't.
They come up and knock on the fucking door, and I'm literally like, no, you see the sign says no soliciting, and he's like, no, I'm not a salesman. I'm like, who do you work for? And he's like, well, I work for SD Genie. I'm like, no, you don't. He's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You work for another company that
Yeah.
works with STG.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't know how thick it was here
Yeah.
with that. So I was excited. I made 20 grand in 2 months.
oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Like they had incentives. I didn't believe them at all.
Yeah.
They were like, if you start this job, it's $850 per week if you hit your incentives.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you guys for real? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. I hit my first month of incentives in 4 days, which meant like
Wow.
knocking hundreds of doors, getting appointments. I mean, it was like the basic stuff of setting an appointment. Like that was it. You didn't have to have anybody buy anything.
Yeah.
And so right there, I already had 850 times 4 coming to me. So I got my first check. They were like, you want direct deposit? I had never had direct deposit then. I was like, no, dude, print me that
Cash.
check out. I want to see. Yeah,
I want to see it. Yeah,
straight
I wanna
up.
see
I
it.
saw the
Yeah.
check. I went
Fives
to the
and
bank
tens,
and
please.
I said, cash it. And they were like, well, and I'm like, oh man, okay. So then I got serious about it, you know. But the problem was I was playing the part. I had the hat, I had the button up, I had the lanyard, I had all the stuff, and I started getting denied from fools like you. And so I realized I was
Fools?
like, well,
Yeah,
people who
dude,
didn't want to
yeah,
deal with
bro.
salesmen,
Yeah,
you know.
I know.
Yeah.
So then I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Oh, I'm not being myself.
Yeah.
So I put on that fedora again. I put on my big ass beaded necklace. You know, I still wore the shirt, but I had a different vibe.
Yeah.
And I got people opening the door because they thought I was a musician. They thought I was someone in the neighborhood, you know? And the clients that I was bringing in were so different from the clients that all the other kids were
Yeah.
bringing in. They would ask me like, hey, how's it going? I was like, oh, it's good. I had dinner last night with one of my clients. They're like, what?
Like,
And I'm
how
like,
does
yeah,
it-
every client I've had, they bring me over for dinner. And they're like, what do you mean you're having dinner with these people? And I'm like, how do you guys create relationships? Like,
I had a solar salesman add me on Instagram afterwards.
Really?
Yeah.
yeah,
They like
see,
talked to me. and
Yeah.
then- yeah.
there's ways to do it, you
yeah.
know?
No, it was scumbag.
Yeah.
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 Shout out to Solar.
So it was
He was
really,
trying to befriend me to fucking like get
Totally,
into, like
yeah.
literally it was fucking weird.
and when I got to the point of not befriending, but starting to hit up friends,
Yeah.
that's when I stopped myself and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I am getting desperate.
Yeah.
And this is what I don't want to do, because this is when money divides friendships. This is when it fucking ruins you,
Yeah.
you know? And actually, I gave myself a week. I said, all right, I'm starting to feel kind of weird about this job now. I already had more money.
Like you're like too far deep or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Dude, the VP, so it was called Suncrest. They're dead now. Their whole company is done. The VP saw how good I was doing, came down from LA, took me out to dinner, bought me a suit, had me fitted for a suit, like gave me all these books. And he was like, yo, like when things are right, you're going to be my next manager to train the next group of people. Like we're going to get you your own office and you're going to train the next group. And I'm like, cool, bring it on. You know, I was just playing the role for the moment because it sounded good. But then I started getting this real strange feeling of like my intuition was just like, what's going on? So I gave myself a week to really think, is this what I want to keep doing? I've already made a grip of money. I already had like 20 grand in the bank. And I was like, that's the most I've ever had. I need to just sit. And I was doing a coffee job. I was doing the massage jobs. I was doing that solar job. I was doing like Postmates on the side, like as much as I could, you know?
Just grinding.
Yeah. And one day at the coffee job, I clock out, and that's when I found Roxy. That's when I found this beautiful, cute little. Actually, she didn't look beautiful. She looked like shit. So I need to set that stuff. I need to set it up proper. She looked horrible.
Yeah.
So where I was at the coffee spot, people, it's like an outdoor event space. If people aren't familiar with where it is, it's like they take old storage containers that used to be like on like shipping containers or on the backs of semis. They cut those out and convert them into like a little business. Mm-hmm. So I was working in one of those, and the angle that I was positioned, someone could walk in and walk past me, but they wouldn't order. You know, they could go, there's like a little dog park over in the side. And this guy walked in, I saw his dog, but I wasn't in dog world, so I didn't really pay attention. And
It's a market. Yeah.
yeah, it was, I'm blanking on what's it called. Oh man, why am I blanking on that? The Courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a new one. The old one was like adjacent.
Further up the,
It was like right on Park and Market on the north side where that huge high rise is.
Right.
And so he walked in and he, you know, did his thing or whatever. And then I'm clocking out and the guy's leaving, but he doesn't have a dog with him. And I was like, didn't that guy have a dog? Like, where did his dog go? And my coworker wasn't paying attention, you know, and she didn't know. And so I grabbed my coffee and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go over to the dog park. Usually what I do is go to the dog park, watch the dogs, and then pedal my bike home. And boom, found that dog. He had left her, tied her up, had a sign saying like, please take me. She's like, great, all these things, and a bag of all of her stuff. And so I actually called Wong. I called Dave White, but like no one really answers phone calls anymore. So no one got back to me right away. And just during our walk, she just happened to look up at me, and it was like the greatest look I've ever had in my life. Here, come over here. Come on. Just cute little fur baby.
Yeah.
She gave me a look that as an only child I've been searching for forever. Like anytime something looks at me like that, I try to hold on to it for as long as possible. And that was 5 years ago. And that was just like, once that moment happened, I realized, okay, there was a reason I came to San Diego.
Yeah.
You know, like all these things started hitting like, okay. And I called the solar people and I said, hey, I'm done. Like, I don't want to. They're like, no, come on. You don't have to come to all the meetings. Like, just keep selling what you're doing. Like, as long as you keep. And I was like, all right, I'll give it another couple weeks. But I just drastically dropped my enthusiasm that I had for it, you know, because now I have something that gives me an immediate response. Like, instead of walking and talking to 200 doors where 90% of them are like, fuck off, get out of my face, I don't want to buy anything. And the other 10% are the kindest people in the world. Yeah. It was such an emotional roller coaster. I thought I was more emotionally adaptable to deal with it, but I wasn't. Yeah. You know, and then she gave me stuff where it was like, oh, whoa, this feels so much better. Why do I need to go search that and scrape the ground for that? Like, who cares? So I quit.
That's cool.
And I dropped from 5 jobs to 3, and it was like, it was so nice. And then all the places that I was working with at the time, they loved her, so I could just bring her everywhere. I'd go to the gym and, you know, tie her up on the side, and people are doing squats and I'm doing sports massage. Like, it was awesome. Mm-hmm. It was so much fun. Yeah. So I really think that one of the main reasons that we all came down here was to like find her.
It's fun. It's funny because it may sound silly to some people, but this really was like I remember when you found her, and it was like such like a pivot point for him, you know, like, and it's hard for me to understand to a degree almost, you know, like it really is like you really did have a connection with Roxy, and it's like you bring her everywhere, and she is like, sorry, Alexis.
No. Oh yeah. Oh, she gets it too, because she loves her in a way that she doesn't love me. Yeah. You know, and that was something where, you know, it took from the time I found her to when she gave me that look was 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And we were on Market Street in downtown when she gave me that look, and I unhooked her leash, and I was like, all right, prove to me that this is as real as it is. And we walked all around Gaslamp, and this little dog didn't leave my side. Yeah. We're walking through cars, you know, and she just stayed there, and I'm like, oh my God. But the moment after that look, I immediately thought about kids. Yeah. Immediately. Yeah. And I've always been pretty big on like, I'm not going to have kids. Like, nah, there's too much shit going on. Like, you don't need kids. Like, who cares? And then I found her, and I was like, oh my God, this is what it's like with an animal. Oh, imagine what it's like with a human. Like, oh God. Yeah. So that clicked into a whole nother mindset, you know, and now it's just getting worse. Now I'm just like, now I see I see Cannon, or like I see some other friends' kids, and like, dude, I just want to be around kids. Mm-hmm. Kids are so fun.
You did say once before, like dog can be like the gateway.
It's a warm up. Yeah, it's a warm up because it takes the priority. I always talk about the priority list. Yeah, and you know, generally you put yourself pretty high up on that list, and then at a point you get a dog, and it starts to creep up the list. Like, oh, I need to do things that surround the dog, and make sacrifices for myself for the dog, and that's essentially what a kid is via schedule or whatever else, or I mean, honestly, money and health and whatever, sleep, and you sacrifice all those things for a kid, and eventually, you know, you kind of go down the list, and your kid replaces you, and like that's a warm up. A dog is a warm up for that,
and that
was in a lot of ways.
The priority list was something I didn't even know.
Or in Dennis's case, the podcast falls off.
Yeah.
True.
I gotta give him shit. He better be listening. At least.
I know, right? I know. I was like, man, I'm gonna have this clip about him talking about me. He's not even gonna be here.
Man. Really?
He's just at home inhaling the baby fumes.
Right? He is. Mm-hmm. So,
but that's exactly what that feeling was.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as an only child, I mean, I've been with my woman now for 10 years, but I still, and this is no dig on her, I still feel alone. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And the moment that this little creature looked at me, I thought, oh my God, I have another reason to be alive. And it's not about me, you know? And that, I mean, I could cry at a drop of a hat with this little dog. Yeah. And like the moment after I had the good feeling, I felt, oh, you're gonna die soon, and I'm gonna fucking lose it. Like,
Yeah.
people need to be. If she dies, you need to be calling and checking in on me because I'm gonna be a
yeah.
sad motherfucker.
You got her tattooed on you, right?
Oh,
or
yeah.
paw print.
Nose print.
Nose print. That's what it is.
Yeah, her nose print is tattooed on me. I stole it from a solar customer.
Yeah.
I told him. Well, at first I was trying to get him on board,
Yeah.
and he had this horrible tattoo on his arm, and I was like, hey man, I don't mean to be rude, but like, what the hell is that smear on your arm? And he's like, oh, I'm a vet tech, and I had to put my dog down, and so after my dog was passed, I grabbed a little ink blot and blotted his nose, and that's like what it was. And so I put it on my arm and had the tattoo artist like trace it, and I was like, oh my god, that's genius. It didn't, I'm not even lying, it did not look like a nose blot though. Like it didn't, it looked strange. And so I told him, I said, I'm gonna steal that, but I'm gonna make it my own. And so I already had 4 circles tattooed on the back of my leg. And one day at OB, at the dog beach, she comes up and like touches you with her nose. I think it's just a dog thing. Like just say, hey, you're there. Like I'm just checking in. And right as she touched me, I put my finger down and I asked a stranger, I said, hey, will you take a photo of this for me? And I took a photo where my finger was, and it was right at the top of the circle, like the same kind of line. And I was like, thank you. And they're like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm going to get my dog's nose tattooed on me. And that's the height that she touches me. And it goes in between this circle. So it just works out perfectly. I found her on March 30th. So 330 is like what it is in the date. So I got 3 lines put around my calf for the 3rd month. And then I got a circle put in the front of on my shin for the 30. So the 3 lines are like the 3 and the 30. And then I got her nose put in on the backside. And Sam did that, and he did such a good job. Because like I had 3 little ink blots of her nose, and one of them was just perfect. And he even said, he was like, I don't think I want to make it perfect. I'm like, please don't. Because it was too symmetrical and too great, So he kind of tweaked it a little bit, but he did such a good job.
That's awesome.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that was actually after Wong's dog had some complications, Archer.
Yeah.
He sent a group text to everybody who knew him, and he's like, hey, really sorry to tell you guys this news, but Archer has passed. And I was so sad because that was Roxy's first friend.
Yeah.
Like literally day 2 of having her, she met Archer. And if anyone knew Wong's dog, this dog is a little psycho. This dog used to try to bite me all the time, and like he hated me.
Yeah,
there was nothing nothing I could do, and he was so cute, And then this is like months and months and months of him hating me and trying to bite my Achilles tendons. And I bring her over in 3 seconds. Archer looked at me and walked over and licked me, and then just went and played with her. And we were best friends ever since that. So funny. I basically had to bring him some hot like fox pussy, you know what I mean? Like, and then he was all cool. So when Wong said that he passed, I knew I need to get her in my flesh. And so that was the first thing I thought of.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was San Diego like from a riding aspect?
Intimidating.
Yeah.
So intimidating.
I back you on that. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Like first place I ever went was OB. And there was a dude, like as I drove in, you park at that last light and you can see the fence and everything. And as I'm like turning by the soccer field, I kind of look back and I see a dude do like a flare. And I'm just like, oh shit, here we go. People don't flare back where I'm from.
People don't flare at OB though. Who was that?
I don't know who it was. I don't know. And he was doing 3 whips over the spine.
Probably Logan Martin.
I was like, who the fuck is this? I stayed in the back bowl and was like doing foot jams on pedal 270s.
Were they big flares? Like pretty tall? For the quarter?
For the quarter, they were decent.
Like 4 feet or something?
Yeah.
It's probably Logan Martin.
Yeah,
because he was here for a little bit, or Logan Martin, or because it was Logan or was it Nick? There was a time period where like Logan Martin was actually like here for a little bit, and he would ride OB, and I'm 90% sure it was Logan.
It was probably him.
It was fucking impressive.
Yeah,
wow.
Like
Of
course it would be, but like for the people that don't know, OB is like 5 feet. You don't even really air the quarters because they're mellow. They're mellow, and it's kind of you just ride it like cement trails. But Logan Martin was like flaring the quarters and just trucking the spine and all this stuff and doing crazy shit and just like, but like it was like a 7-foot feast park.
And that was like your first experience.
And that was my first experience. So I was like, holy fuck. And then I found Home Avenue. So basically what I did was I just went on Google Maps, and I didn't even think to like search
Home Avenue.
Normal Google, like Home Ave. Like I didn't even think to search that. I just literally went on Google Maps, typed in Home Ave, found the street, and then went on to where you see the satellite and just followed it down until I saw a ditch. And I'm like, okay. And I was living exact same spot where I'm living now, only the next complex. And so I got my bike and just pedaled down there. It was like a 4-mile ride. And dude, first week in San Diego and I'm riding home Ave.
Yeah.
I was like crapping my pants. I was just like, this is the greatest place in the world.
Yeah.
It was so fun. And then finding Memo, you know, and then just going to a spot and seeing like Chad Curley. And I'd be like, oh my God, that's Chad Curley. Like, okay, cool. And then everyone was just so cool.
Yeah.
And it was very strange to see 30 something bikers at a session.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen,
Pretty
that's
wild.
like a jam, you know, where I'm from. That's like a contest.
Everybody came out.
Yeah. And just seeing like 10 people would leave and you're like, oh, I guess the session's done. And then you start packing up because you're tired. You've been there for a couple hours. Start riding out. 10 more fools riding in and you're like, oh my God, Gary Reynolds is coming. I don't have to work today, so I guess I'm going back into OB. And like it just got to the point where I was like, I need to eat food. Like there was just so much to session and so many people riding.
Who was the first person that was like got your number and was like, hey, I'm gonna go ride?
Oh, that's a good. Oh man, I'm blanking on his last name. Lucas. He used to work for Haro.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Actually, I met him and Ron, Dirt Ron, the same day.
Yeah.
At OB.
Okay.
So that was really, really fun.
Yeah.
And then the first like real session was Area 43, Dave White's house.
Okay.
So that's where everyone kept saying like Wong, and I'm like looking at him and I'm like, wait, is that how you pronounce Hoang Tran?
Fair statement. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there in the world. Yeah.
And Dave White, being who Dave White is, he's like, he goes, I just call him Wang.
Yeah.
And he's like, or Wong with a W. And I was like, oh fuck, that's that kid? Like, oh damn.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was amazing, you know. And then having a couple sessions there was just, his ramps were so much fun.
Yeah.
That was badass.
I got to ride them a few times.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see you ride those ramps.
We did like I think a beer opening thing with Cosman. Like I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
drink, but I think
yeah,
everybody
like,
was like Dirt Ron was there.
St.
Kyle,
Patty's Day
just
thing.
like popping beers with the bike.
Oh,
Just like,
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was super cool. Oh, it's like I just got like a rush of wind.
Yeah, I know.
Coming, but it's just Branson's tail.
That's Branson's kite.
But yeah, so I would say Lucas and Ron were like the first people that I really connected with.
Cool.
And then Ron was my in to like Wong and where they would stay because they were all living together.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron is just like a big old puppy dog, you know. And Wong and Tom, who also lived there, they were a little more reserved, so it was like harder to befriend them instantly. But Ron was really easy. And then once I started hanging around more, they were like, "Oh, this guy's fine."
Yeah.
And then that was like the little crew that we had.
Cool.
And dude, it was awesome.
That's
and
sick.
like, yeah. And then, you know, looking at it from my perspective, I'm like coming home every day like, oh my God, there's this. And my lady's like, I'm still working these stupid jobs, you know?
Yeah.
So it looked like I was just like loving it and excelling and all this stuff. And which it felt good to finally be in that position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's nice that she's finally getting it to come back around to her level.
Yeah, for sure. The hard work pays off. I'm
Totally.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's, you know, and it's also one of the things where I can't help but I'm really tough on myself. It's something I'm trying to be better about. But, you know, thinking, you know, she's getting paid X amount of money, which is like way more than I've ever been paid in my life. Yeah. And, you know, she's at a spot where she's like a notch away from her dream job. Mm-hmm. And I'm 34 and I'm like, what am I doing with my life? You know, and I judge myself really hard on that. And I try to be smart and kind to myself about it. But at the same time, the lifestyle that we kind of have, it kind of sets us up in that way. We're so addicted to adrenaline and like a new spot that kind of bleeds over into life. And it's been hard for me to slow that down because I'm always like, what's next? Mm-hmm. I can just go on to what's next. Like, so yeah.
What, I guess, so you get in, you know, become part of the scene. And then has there been, I don't know, is there, for me, the first time I met you was Memorial, as I said, and it was like you definitely had your own style, right? Like like your style then is your style now, essentially. And it's like, did you feel like
I felt like an alien.
Yeah, that's that. Did you fit in? You know, because you know,
which is kind of my comfort zone to not fit in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do things for myself to not ostracize, but to set myself aside from everybody. At first, it was a hard thing because nobody was like that, you know, and so it was like, oh man. I still feel when I show up to a spot and like Chad Curley, Dennis Anderson, Garrett Reynolds, they all roll in. First thought, let's go home.
Yeah,
like that's my first thought is like, fuck this, dude. I'm out of here. but I make myself stay in those times and just suck it up and be like, okay, well, because I'm very competitive. I want to be the best, but I'm not. You know, like I know I'm not.
Well,
the best.
you are.
Well,
You're
the best
tag
in
on what you BMX to me is like contributing.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we can like base what we're capable of doing off of like what everybody else can do.
Totally.
Sometimes you do feel intimidated, even though you should have like a sense of, we all have a sense of pride about what we like to do and what we're good at. And then when you see somebody else that can do that better in the sense of like what everybody sees and how they compare it, then yeah, you will shut yourself down.
Yeah.
But if you look at it like, well, you're contributing who you are to BMX, right?
Yeah.
So you're just another piece to that puzzle. Like everybody's gonna have something to deliver, and you have something to offer. And it is kind of hard to kind of go
so
through that
hard
cycle.
to-
Yeah, it's kind of hard to maneuver or like go through it. But I can see like, oh, I'm gonna leave because of this situation. But
it was just always,
you got it, man. You got it.
It was just something from a very young age that I learned. Like when I feel awkward, I just dip. You know, I mean, that's why I left my hometown. That's why I left every spot that I've ever tried to stay in. Because I'd go to a spot and be like, all right, let's check this spot out. Look around. Okay, if, I don't feel like I fit in here. Bye. You know, or like, I'm done. See ya. And I just go to do my own thing. But now I'm in a spot where part of me is like, can we just move again? Can we go to like a small town? Can we just get the fuck out of the city? But I love being around things that I have to question and that challenge me. Again, back to the challenge thing. The moment I see Dennis come in, I'm like, oh God, just leave. I'll just leave. It's fine. But then no, I go right up to him and I'm like, what's up, dude? And I start a conversation. And then all of a sudden we're sessioning a line, you know, and while I'm following him, I'm like, oh my God, I'm training Dennis Anderson.
Yeah.
You know, and then he'll be like, yo, that was pretty sick. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Are you serious? He's serious. Oh my God, he's serious. Take it as a compliment. Don't judge it, you know, and like move on from there. And so it just kind of came to a point where I was like, yeah, I am me.
Yeah, you are.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, the video release and all that really, really helped solidify that a little bit more.
Yeah.
All the comments. So thank you everybody for being kind and not being assholes. I really appreciate that. But it really just, I've always known that I'm a little different with BMX, and it was easier to be that in a small town because we were all kind of like that. And then to come here where we're at the pulse of what's happening in our scene.
100%. Yeah.
You know, and I'm riding brakes and like I don't have pegs most of the time. And
Those things are okay. It's okay.
yeah, you know,
be yourself.
and actually being here, the first few weird moments of like, oh, I should just leave the session because everybody's here now. Those started to trickle away and started to be like, yeah, everyone's here. Why don't you show them what you can do? You know, then it started like, remember that side of Maty that was there? Because that's how it was the rest of my life. We'd go to a spot and we'd all kind of ride the same. And it was like, but let's see what you can do. So it started to come out more, you know, and then meeting you guys and you guys being like, no, you're unique. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like all of us riding like this, you kind of need to see you riding like that.
Yeah.
That goes hand in hand with your diversity point
exactly.
you made earlier.
And like, I need to see you guys doing that because I would never think of that, and it'll help me over here do this. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So that made it really nice.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like there needs to be, I don't want to belittle it by calling it weird by any sense, but like atypical riding, you know, like you see the, you know, I mean, the quote, whatever the 2021 equivalent of the Smith Nose Bar is, you know, because Smith Nose Bar
I like
is
that
so
they were talking
2018.
about the diversity
Yeah.
too. And I like to like kind of piece certain things together that kind of make me think about how like you need to have diverse stuff or diverse people, diverse situations. And we talk about the brakes, you talk about the pegs, even companies that have parts that are super expensive, like the Tubalitos or like
Carbon
claw
fiber
wheel.
rims.
Yeah, it's like having those options. There's somebody like them, somebody need them, somebody want them.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those options, you'll be stuck and subject. To
Yeah, if
only
it's
being
not
one way.
not for you, going
yeah.
out of your way to talk shit on it just makes you a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, that doesn't work for you.
So in
Or
other
the, hey,
words,
that's-
you being yourself and contributing what you do and how you are is like super vital and important because there's some kid and some other dude is like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's me, a part of me. That and even too,
Yeah, I
other
didn't
riders
thought
feed
about it
off of
like
your
that.
energy too. I think certain things that you like to do, it can kind of like open up like, like, yeah, maybe I get it a shot or like, so yeah.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about it in that sense that like, not that like being on the channel, like the YouTube channel is like some ultra high pinnacle or something like that, but like there's somebody out there that's like, yeah, I kind of just do like wall taps and I do this style of riding, and then like seeing your video and it getting a good response overall and people just being hyped on it, they're like, whoa, I could do something similar and it will be appreciated.
Yeah, we're gonna put in that you can do something similar, but Maddie do it on a whole scale.
I know. Yeah.
It's on a whole
other
level.
In the same family.
Well, this is the toot his horn. I think like sometimes it's cool to kind of remind people, even though you can probably feel like intimidated a lot of times. It's like I watched the video. I was there for a few of the things, and it's like you got it. You're on a whole nother level doing it. So
thanks, dude.
Yeah, dude. No, thank yourself. Get yourself pat on the back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's that thing? You got
stretch today, bro.
Yeah.
If anybody's ridden with DeMarcus, you know that stretch technique.
Yeah.
It's really good to hear that. And actually, Corey Nastasio said something recently, and it was when we can circle around and talk about this. At Sheep Hills.
Mm-hmm.
Corey was just going nuts, dude. He was just being a madman. That was my first time ever at Sheep Hills.
Yeah.
What was it? The Sheep Hills Jam? Or
Boozer Jam.
Boozer Jam.
Yeah.
And it was my first time at Sheep Hills, and we went up there, and I brought my bike, and I see the scene, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling like riding. Like, I just really wasn't in the mood, you know? And Corey
I did tell you beforehand, I was like, there's a chance you're not going to ride.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, kind of checking everything out, I was like, all right. And I wasn't feeling very well, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
And Corey comes up and he's like, "What's up, dude?" You know, crazy, nasty energy, you know. And he's like, "Why aren't you riding?" And I'm like, "Oh, man, that's not like." And he's like, "No, bro." He's like, "People need to see you ride. Like, you're so unique. Like, you need to be out here riding. Show them how you do stuff." And I was like, "I love you, Nasty." He just says stuff in ways that you're like, you want to hit yourself.
But he's so right.
Yeah. So right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like riding with him at Sean's house, you know, first time I rode with him was at Sean's house.
Yeah.
And I don't do backflips. I didn't do one then, so I'm not setting this up for the best end of the story. But I knew, I was like, oh, Nasty hit me up. He's going to Sean's. Like, fuck, I got to flip at Sean's. Like, here we go. Because I know myself, and if I go ride with people who I idolize, I'm going to do the stuff that I need to make myself do. And all I wanted to do was just train him and ride with him, you know? And he's making all these noises and having fun. And he was just like, you're one of my favorite riders to ride with.
Wow.
And like that just... Whew, I could die then.
I really love you.
Yeah, like I really love you. He gives great hugs, you know. Like it was just something where you don't realize because you get so caught up in your own judgment of yourself.
Yeah.
You know that when I'm sitting at home, like if I had a little soundbite of Nasty saying that to me, I would play that every time I feel low. Yeah. You know, and it's just stuff like that. But you have the soundbite; it's in your head. Just recall it. You know, and it's those little things that help build me back up.
Yeah. So that's an important. Like workshop type thing for your own mental health of like when you get down on certain things, like you gotta take it from an outside perspective and look at what you're doing and because there are people that appreciate you and what you do, just in even not necessarily saying you, just anybody out there. Like there are people out there that enjoy your company and want to see you and want to hear from you. And so fucking reach out. You know, like if you're feeling down. So let's talk about the illness.
The illness, yeah. So I had I got my first vaccine shot on the 27th of May, and 2 days later I started having diarrhea, and I was like, oh, it's just a vaccine thing, like lowered immune system, like this is just what my body's doing, and 2 weeks of diarrhea was like, this is a little weird. So I let it go a couple more weeks. I had 1 month of it.
Was it diarrhea, like in the sense of when you would naturally have to go poop? Would it be like on that, or would it just randomly come up like I have to go?
It was becoming more and more to the random part, where it was like I was pretty regular for the most part. I'd wake up, have like a morning dump, and then like maybe poop again like late morning, and then all good until probably the next day, you know. And it started being like 3-4 times a day. And it turned into like water poop. It was straight up horrible. You know, it started getting a little questionable. And so after a month and a half, I went to a little like walk-in minute clinic at CVS, and they can't do any major procedures there. So they just had, what is it called? The stethoscope, where they listen to you. And she was like, I think you have like IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, because my stomach was gargling, making all these noises. So I bought some diet books and, you know, tried to pay attention to what I was doing. On the surface, I look healthy. The thing is, I love bulletproof coffee. And everyone knows what bulletproof coffee is at this point, but if you don't,
I don't know what bulletproof.
So it's mixing coconut oil and grass-fed butter or ghee, depending on how you want to do it, with your coffee.
Okay.
Essentially, coffee straight up is just super taxing on your system. It's a great cognitive enhancement and all that kind of stuff, but it's very taxing on your internal organs.
It's acidic.
It's acidic, yeah. It's, so if you drink it with a lot of healthy fats, it's just something else for your body to digest. It gives you a little more, and it actually doesn't have those like intense jitters out of the gate. It's like a more sustained fuel type thing. So, and I loved that taste. And I just started doing that. I've been doing that for like 6 or 7 years. Well, I don't pay attention to portion sizes because I just didn't think about it. I'm talking like heaping scoops of coconut oil, not heaping of the grass-fed butter, but like a good tablespoon or so. And that was every single day for 5 years. And I would love, like how I kind of feel right now. I've already had breakfast, but I am a little caffeinated and I am just like light and like not jittery, but I just feel good, But that necessarily isn't good. And I didn't realize that. There's no defining reason why what my illness came about, how it did, but essentially it's a very high fat diet. And so if we go into the last 2 years, I've been a delivery driver for Cafe Moto. So every other part of that job is amazing, except for the driving around all these crazy assholes in San Diego. That part sucks. It's very stressful. And, I don't really like to eat during the day or even in the morning. I'll have the coffee. I feel good. And then I'd get home and like maybe have a protein bar and then go to the skate park, ride till I fall over, come home, and I'd eat like 3 meals at once. So I was essentially leaving my system, my intestines and my gastro.
Just depriving it into.
I was giving it nothing throughout the day and then slamming it full of food at the end of the night, and I didn't think it was bad because I didn't notice anything.
I think of you as a very, very healthy individual.
And and most of the food that was going in was healthy.
Between this, I want to talk about, we filmed the clip and we saw Maddie in the background working out. A lot of you like filming.
Oh, yeah. You're like swinging a fucking rope.
I look over and it's like
background.
he's over swinging ropes. Like, yeah, he's healthy.
We'll do that aside. During the EFES thing,
Okay.
Literally, Demarcus is jumping on a rail. And you were
hit a
there,
rope,
and you brought a big rope out,
like the one I too, just like
like from the gym, and you're like,
it's like,
we
should
like
I
look
be doing
over
that
and
right now. Like, should I be doing this right now? Like, I need to be over there.
Oh
like,
man,
sick.
That rope is crazy. That rope is those battle ropes are so fun. But I bought this one off of OfferUp. And it was like, it sat out in the sun and they put like super glue on it or something. The thing does not bend very well.
Yeah. Battle stick.
It's a battle stick, exactly. Yeah.
But but go ahead. Back to that.
But yeah, so that was like, it's those types of things, So anyway, so let's flash forward to now. I went to the CVS Minute Clinic. She was like, maybe change your diet, see if anything changes. So did this like diet change, started doing what's called low FODMAP. I don't know what the acronym is, but it's FODMAP. It's basically foods that don't sit in your gut for long periods of time. So they won't ferment and create gases. It's easily digestible food.
Low fog. That makes sense.
Fog, yeah.
Is that what you said?
Low FODMAP.
Low fog.
I like the low fog.
Fog. I was like,
I like
gas
that.
fog.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So started doing that, but like nothing really changed. So I went to a family health center. So it's like, I didn't have health insurance and I was nervous of costs and all this type of stuff. And the doctor was like, all right, we're going to need poop samples, 24 hours in between each one. So now I'm pushed back even like 3 more days, I'm doing these poop samples, fucking pooping in a little plastic thing. Ugh, it's horrible. And I still didn't feel like nothing. I didn't really feel bad. I was just diarrhea. Like I just didn't understand it. And I rode my road bicycle to work all the time, every single day. And I started noticing that when I was pedaling home, I'd get more and more tired. And these are not crazy hills. There's a couple hills that you kick your butt, but it's not that bad. But I started noticing I'm like exhausted by the end of these rides. So I actually took apart both of my bikes and I'm like, okay, I need to just pay attention to my own body for a minute. Because I'd go ride after work and I'd feel like garbage. When I was on the bike riding, I felt fine because I was focused. Nothing was in my head. And then I'd stop and my gut was like, I'm like, damn, what the fuck?
Well, so I'll disagree with you because there was a point you were like, I think when you told me, it was like when he told, I think we're
at Memo.
We're at Memo, yeah. And you're like, you may have noticed I like kind of lost my spark lately. Like this is how he introed to like what we'll get to. But I didn't notice it up until that point. But then when I thought back, I'm like, yeah, he's like more reserved, mellow. Like he didn't sleep very well the night before, previous couple of nights. Matty, you know, still him, but like not
subdued.
Subdued is a good word for it.
Yeah.
So it was affecting you.
Yeah.
Like on the bike and just probably overall happiness, I'm sure.
Totally,
yeah,
man.
So.
I mean, it was to the point where I was just waking up every morning by 6, and I would have 4 bathroom visits before I would leave by 6:35, and then I'd ride my bike to work, and I would load up my van and get out of there by 9:30, and I'd have another 4 or 5 bathroom visits. Yeah. I mean, we're not talking about putting that much food in my body either.
Yeah,
you know. So after 2 months of shitting like crazy, I noticed that I started losing weight. And I really started feeling weak. And I got put on what's called a brat diet. Not put on it, but the doctors suggested. It's BRAT. So bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. Just super bland. Let's neutralize your gut. Let's see what's going on. You know, see if we can get you back to regular. And I tried to have applesauce. This is on July 9th. I didn't eat anything all day. I had 1 cup of little applesauce. Keep in mind, I stopped drinking coffee then. I took a bite of the applesauce when I got home after work. And I started to puke. And so I'm in the bathroom throwing up in the trash can and having diarrhea. And
did you puke because of the taste of applesauce, or was it because
it was like the taste, the texture, the thought? Like I wasn't even in the vicinity of hunger. It just like when I thought about chewing something, it just made me like gross. Like I don't know. It was such a strange feeling. I've never had a good relationship with food in the sense of like, I don't crave things that much. I eat food for fuel. I'm like, oh, if I want to ride for extended amount of time, I need to have this amount of protein, this amount of blah, blah, blah. You know, that's how I think of it. And so my lady came home from work. It was like 7:00 at night. And I looked at her and I was like, you need to take me to the hospital. She's like, really? And I go, yeah. I'm like, I can't keep anything down, like at all. So things are coming up and things are coming out. Nothing is absorbing. And so I went to the ER at UCSD, and they got me in. An amazing woman came in who does like the financial stuff. And she's like, how much do you make? And at the time I was before taxes, I was making like $2,600 a month. She's like, you don't qualify for health coverage. And I'm like, yeah, well, figures, that's how it goes. And she goes, what was your last check? And it was like $1,100. She goes, perfect. She wrote me down for that, qualified me for emergency Medi-Cal. So the whole time up until August 31st, I was covered.
Shout out to people like that.
Seriously saved my life, like for real. Yeah. And she said that was the reason why she was on the 211 call center. She did that for like a couple years, and she flat out said, I wanted to be in a more purposeful spot to do stuff like this.
It's so effective hearing that.
Yeah. I can't speak highly enough. I was so nervous to go to a hospital, but everybody who I dealt with there was amazing. Yeah. So I'm in the hospital. They're running all these tests. I have a colonoscopy set for like 2 days after that. I started drinking all the liquids, shitting even more than I already was.
Is that like the stuff that they can like see?
No, it's like the drink stuff where you just need to get it flushed.
Oh, okay.
You just need to get every single thing out of your body, all the food particles. And it was within that day that I noticed how like tiny I was. Yeah. And I had just gotten these shirts sent to me by this company called Party Time. Thank you, Noah, for sending me these shirts.
Accurate name.
Yeah,
for a shirt like that.
It's a flamingos having sex.
Plug.
Actually, if you really get close to it.
It is.
And I put the shirt on, and I was
staring at you for an hour and a half. Valid.
That's what
but I put this on, and I was like swimming in it. And that's when I noticed like I lost my biker booty. Like we all have pretty decent butts because we ride bikes, and like my ass I looked like a 60-year-old yoga teacher. Like it was done. I never did a squat in my life. So I was super nervous, did the colonoscopy, and within hours they come back and they're like, yes, you have severe ulcers in your transverse colon. And I'm like,
that means blood essentially.
Yeah.
Like,
I was
open wounds.
Yep. Yeah. Open wounds. Yeah. And they said, I brought up the whole thing of like, I got the vaccine on this date, started having this. And he was like, well, I'll help reassure that they have been in here for 6 months to a year or more.
Oh, wow.
Easily.
So you'd been dealing with this
I'd been dealing with this. Yeah. And actually there was a moment about 8 or 9 months ago where I was possibly talking about switching jobs, and I got really, really close to switching jobs, and I like convinced myself, okay, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks, all this stuff. I got ghosted from those fools. And like, I'm not going to sit here and bash them, but I want to go, I know where you work, and I want to come up to you and just be like, yo, dude, you don't even have the balls to text me back and say you don't want to hire me. Whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But never
huge stressor, basically.
huge stressor.
Yeah.
And my lady's friend, she has issues with her pelvic floor, so she's really familiar with that area. And she flat out was like, did you convince, like emotionally convince yourself that you were going to quit? And I said, yeah. She goes, I think you might have an ulcer.
Yeah.
This is like 8 or 9 months ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Ulcers are for old people, right? Like, what are you talking about? She goes, no. Everything that you're telling me, it sounds like you have an ulcer.
Yeah.
And so I slowed down on coffee, and I like would breathe better and like meditate and like try to think about the positive stuff and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, and then I thought, all right, there's no way it's an ulcer. It's fine. Well, sure enough, she was fucking dead on. So Crohn's disease is what I got diagnosed with.
Mm-hmm.
And the best description, I mean, I have like a definition of it, but essentially what it is your body thinks that the food that's coming into it is not supposed to be there. And so it attacks it, and it'll attack your intestines. Your body is basically attacking itself.
Yeah.
And so it's an autoimmune disease. And what that means is like I'm immunocompromised, and it's going to be with me for the rest of my life now. And this is something that's usually diagnosed around between like 15 and 30 years old. So I'm a little late to the game, kind of a thing. And, I'm going to have to do lifelong medication. I just got my first medication dose 2 weeks ago. And then I'm going to be doing like subcutaneous injections on my own. So it's pretty intimidating.
So to put it in perspective, you said you lost about 25 pounds.
25
and
pounds.
You weigh 190 or something.
I've weighed 180 for the last 17 years.
Yeah.
Like zero fluctuation.
Yeah. 25 pounds is a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
They weighed me and I was 160 and I was like, oh my God. I mean, I didn't notice it until, like I said, when I saw my ass.
Yeah.
When I saw my ass and I saw like the bottom part of my cheek was like folding under near where my hamstring is, I was like, dude. And then I started to scratch my back and I could feel my scapula in a way that I've never felt it that exposed. I'm like, whoa, this is nuts. Or just like putting my leg up on a table, the way my calf muscle would like hang, I could see my shin bone in a different perspective. And I'm like, dude, it like sucked all my mass.
Yeah.
And it sucked some of my muscles.
Yeah.
Like I was so weak. And to really throw in the humiliation, which is totally fine, it's very humbling, I got a hemorrhoid during all of this.
Yeah. I'm pooping all the time. Right?
Dude, I had abdominal contractions when I would poop. Like I couldn't stop it. It was like, I was like making noise and like it was horrible.
Yeah.
I never have had a hemorrhoid before.
Yeah.
I struggled with hemorrhoids growing up a lot. Like,
Dude,
really?
Yeah,
that's
100%.
And
yeah.
I mean,
see,
I've had one.
This is what's crazy. So like after I got out of the hospital, I mean, the hemorrhoid was so sensitive. Like I didn't go to your birthday because I couldn't sit like this.
Oh yeah.
You know, like literally couldn't sit down.
Yeah.
I was like I was eating every time I'd eat a meal. I was like this.
Since we're talking about this, since we like, it's a little personal, but like I believe in sharing it. Like myself and a few of my friends also have suffered from hemorrhoids from a long period of time.
Yeah.
And what I came to find out what worked for me, because I did the whole like going to the doctor, suppositories, all this stuff, absolutely do not work. But what I do is
you just said do
when I do after doing is petroleum jelly or Vaseline.
Yeah.
You clean yourself. You apply a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Make something to sit down, like put it in like literally like a diaper, and you sit onto it, and it pushes the hemorrhoid back up, and you clean yourself, and they don't come back after that.
Crazy.
And obviously, certain things that like can trigger it, but like more so just having a relaxed core can make it just like you said, you were drained. You know, so it's like that can also just make it come out. But like if you are out there listening to this and you suffer from hemorrhoids and you go to the doctor and you don't have any solutions for it, try that. Like literally it works and it can help it go right back up and go away.
And that was something that was so nuts because when I came home, you know, I could barely move without feeling it. And so I was talking to, I'm not going to name names because I don't want her to be embarrassed. I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and his fiance overheard him say something about a hemorrhoid because we were on the phone, and she ran over and grabbed the phone and she was like, Matt, are you talking about hemorrhoids? And I was like, yeah, I have one. Like, I don't know. It's super painful. And she was like, I have a hemorrhoid right now. You know what? If it's small enough, you just push it back up in your ass. And I'm like, What?
I suggest lubing it though.
I mean, she definitely said lubing.
Yeah.
She flat out was like, she goes, I know if it's gonna be like if I have like a rough meal and I rough poop, she goes, it comes out, I shove it back up in there and I wash my hands. It's no big deal. And I told her, I was like, do you realize that I've been in the hospital for like a week and nobody has ever said
they don't have
that
a solution
at all?
for it. Yeah.
She is such a big supporter of just talking about things that people don't talk about. She goes, Maddie, you don't realize how common hemorrhoids are, and no one discusses this shit.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about it.
Like it's like if you don't want to put your fingers on it, touch it, like toilet paper, Vaseline, apply it, put something down, sit on something hard, those suckers go right back up. Like
it's pretty nuts.
Like I said, I struggled since I was like 13. Like literally been to the doctor multiple times, and it's like to hear it, it's like, well, you can't keep this to yourself, because like when I hear my friends,
well,
like,
I know somebody else that
like,
had surgery to
you can like
certain ones
cut them
can get,
off and like sewn up,
like tuck up like the hemorrhoid gland. So
mine wasn't like so big, you know. It was probably like the size of a quarter. It was pretty decent, I think.
Yeah,
you know?
It seems pretty big.
And then I was on steroids at that time, and then they gave me some antibiotics, and then that helped a lot. And then once the pain, because the amount of inflammation that was inside of me and going on, it was so intense that they flat out
seems like
said,
a fucking war zone, basically.
Yeah, it was.
Like
it was.
Yeah, ulcers all over and all this stuff.
And then the
happening,
hemorrhoid,
and you're weak because you're not getting food down. Like it sounds fucking. So how long were you in the hospital?
I was only in the hospital from the 9th until the 15th.
I mean, that's 6 days.
6 days.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time for like.
And the day that they said that they're like, you can probably go home today, I was still having bloody stools.
Yeah.
And I called the nurse and I was like, yo, look at this stool. Like I don't think I should go home. Look what I have created. Like, look at what I've done, you know? This woman gave it to me so straight. Everyone in there was so kind, and like, they would just be, they'd have like this really beautiful delivery method of how they're talking to you and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
This woman, it was like 3:00 in the morning. And I show her the stool, and she was like, oh, honey, come on now. This is what every pregnant woman goes through. They get pregnant, they have hemorrhoids, and they shit blood. You're just going to fucking deal with this for the rest of your life. This is just how it goes. And I was like, oh, damn. She goes, it's going to get better. You're in a pretty intense, acute stage right now. It's going to get better, but you are most likely going to deal with this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just slap her, but I knew that she was telling me the truth.
Yeah.
I was
just
like,
actually
okay.
gave it to you black and white.
Yeah. And she was like, so you're probably going to go home today. And I'm like, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I went home and still super sensitive, like got all the gels, got like the A&D ointment and stuff and the hydrocortisone cream.
So like when they say Crohn's disease, you don't know what the hell that is.
I had a rough idea.
Okay.
So 10 years ago or so, when I was a massage therapist up in Humboldt, one of my clients had Crohn's disease.
Okay.
And I mean, this was a decade ago. And so she was always in pain.
Yeah.
She could move her arm like this and she'd be in pain. But her spirit, she was so joyful. And I've never met someone who had so much charisma for how much pain she claimed she was in.
Mm-hmm.
So the moment, I mean, they brought up 5 different ideas of what it could be before the colonoscopy, and Crohn's was tossed in there. And I was like, yeah, right, it ain't no Crohn's. Yeah. And then once they said that, I'm like, oh man, my whole life is fucked.
And it's hereditary. It's something.
It can be.
It can be. So you can develop it.
So it can be genetic. It can be diet, and it can be environmental, like excess stress.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's no real.
But
definition.
So you're saying your diet and your stress create something that you're with the rest of your life, essentially.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It like just never goes away. That's like an intense. That's like think of another example of that. Like what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there is, of course, but like I can't think of something where you're like, you. Yeah, I mean, like you break your arm, you never works the same again.
Yeah,
and
I guess in that sense, like,
and that was what I wished so bad.
Yeah,
I'm in the hospital for all this stuff, and I'm like, I told one of the nurses, like, I wish I just had a broken arm so I could see what was wrong.
Yeah,
because I can't see this.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like a back.
It's so weird. Yeah. You know, and even now, like. Honestly, I kind of feel okay. Yeah. You know, I feel fine. I'm gaining muscle back. I'm gaining my weight
how long
back.
ago is this? Like from when you were in the hospital to now?
So it was July 9th was when I was like, I need to go into the hospital. Yeah. I was like, I was at my absolute worst was July 9th to July 15th.
So 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Crazy.
And
how much weight have you gained back?
I've gained 20 pounds back.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. I know. I just got weighed last night. I just got an MRI. Oh, any of you ever had an MRI?
Yeah, I had
Yes.
MRI.
Oh my God.
Crazy,
Oh,
right?
How is
Like,
it
how do you
2020?
go to an emergency room and get your to get an X-ray? You gotta go to MRI, straight to MRI.
Yeah.
It's like it shows everything.
Dude, everyone was like, "You've had MRI before," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." Like, of course, I've hit my head so many times. I've been in the hospital getting X-rayed. Like, yeah, let's go. And the guy like hands me some earplugs, and at first I wanted to be like, "Nah, I'm good. Like, I don't need these." But I didn't say anything. I was like, "All right, cool. I'll put them in." He slides me in, and he was like, "All right, so it'll be about a half an hour," and I'm like, "Oh, damn, half an hour." Like, all right, whatever. I thought it was like a similar X-ray type thing.
Yeah.
I'm in the machine last night, and it's like.
Yep.
I'm just like, what is this? This is like sound torture,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, it's insane.
And he said, okay, after halfway through, we're gonna pull you out. We're gonna inject you with this contrast stuff. It's like
That's what I was talking about. So
Yeah.
you can see the way it flows through.
That's what they did last night.
Yeah.
So our bodies already make it. I wish I knew what it was called. Our bodies already make it, but they just give you an overabundance amount of it so you can see it. And he said, we'll pull you out halfway and we'll inject you with that. So they stop and they pull me out, and I was like, yo, man, this is halfway? Like, I don't even know if I want to go back into this.
Yeah,
Like,
people
are
freak-
you fucking kidding me?
That's why he asked you, because people freak out in there.
He gave me the little thing to squeeze.
Yeah.
He was like, I won't be able to hear you. So if you get like, if you're done, just like squeeze this thing.
Yeah.
So I was holding it in my hand. And like the first 7 minutes, I was like, okay, it's just loud noise. It's all good.
The dog just shook the fucking camera. Branson.
the first like 7 minutes, I was like, okay, this is intense, but I got this, you know? And then between like the 7 to 12 minute mark, I finally felt what it felt to be claustrophobic
Yeah. Yeah.
for like a second. And then I opened my eyes and I shit you not, I can see scratch marks right above
Somebody tweaked
where
out.
someone was like, ah, like, get me out of here. And because I had my eyes closed for the whole time, but I opened them just to be like, it's not that big of a deal. And then I see those scratch marks, and I was like, oh fuck, dude, this is like, I was wigging.
This is the part where I say I fell asleep in it.
Oh, God. I was just like, this is.
I'm like,
so
yeah, I got
brutal.
this.
Yeah.
I'll take this 15 minutes.
Oh.
of
Yeah.
fucking me
And
time.
they put. He said it was like, this is like part of the camera. He said it was like part of the camera thing, and it was like this. It looked like a little cage, like if you were to have like a circular bird cage. It was like a section of the cage that he laid on me, and I started taking really big, deep breaths.
All right, so a little dog prompted dog versus cat intermission out there. So I honestly was more worried about my cat attacking your
course.
dog. So
Because she's not used to that.
yeah, and then
And your cat's a tough
and I
ass.
realized that your dog could actually get through the cat door to the garage too. So he may stick her head in and then just get walloped going into the garage because that's their safe haven. So
Walk into a cat pounce
yeah,
attack.
exactly. So I can't remember what we were talking about. I mean, I know. Oh, the MRIs.
Yeah,
MRIs.
MRIs.
So
MRI's making a crazy amount of
yeah,
noise.
so you put a bunch of shit on you, obviously. So you said that was last night?
Yeah, that was last night.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they put this cage looking thing. He said it was part of the cameras, and I was taking really big, slow breaths, try to calm myself down, you know.
Yeah.
And every time I would take a really big breath, I could feel like the electromagnetism shaking me.
Yeah.
And then I'd exhale and I wouldn't feel it. And I'm like, am I supposed to feel this thing?
Yeah.
And then so every time I was like, I would like try to see if I could feel it, and I could almost feel it. And once we were all done, he pulled me out, and I was like, yo, man, am I supposed to feel that thing? He's like, oh, sometimes you can feel it. I was like, I was feeling it like crazy. And it was kind of weird.
You're not
to me
supposed to
out.
have metal in there, right? Like they make you take out.
Yeah,
like,
take out everything.
They were cool with this. This is a granite, so
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah, they didn't care. But I was like, oh, I have my ring, and he's like, it's small enough. It's not going to bother you.
So what's your road? I mean, obviously you're getting better. So what's your road to normalcy? I guess is the right word.
So if anybody has any like wisdom or anything they want to share with me, please hit me up on Instagram. Like, I'm super down to talk about this stuff. Thankfully, a few friends who I know, I told them early out of the gate, and they connected me with a couple people. And this one kid was like, from worst symptoms to feeling better was like 3.5 months for him. And that's pretty much the path that I'm on.
Okay.
You know, so I have 1.5 more months until I'm at his like 3.5 month mark. And like, I feel pretty solid with that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to do another checkup next week at the hospital. I haven't been working this whole time just because of all this. My job's been really cool. That's where it comes up with, you know, I flat out told the owner, I was like, I don't want to come back and drive for you. Like, as fun as it was, like, I don't have a good enough understanding of how to deal with stress. And so one of my main things, and you're going to hear me say it now because I just need to put myself on blast. I need to talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
I want to be able to figure out how to better manage this type of stuff,
Yeah.
you know, because where I'm from, you suck it up. You just suck it up and don't talk about it. Don't share.
That's man shit.
It's man stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and
Yeah.
like, I'm also reading a book right now.
Demo and I, same page on that.
Yeah.
I'm also reading a book right now called Man Enough by Justin Baldini. And it's about
Kyle Baldock.
If he wrote that, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But it's basically he talks about how not to take anything away from like women's movement and like equality and all that stuff, but he's like, look, us as men have also been really like told don't share your feelings, you know, and he's been an emotional man his whole life, and like I just learned in the last 5 years I'm emotional too.
You talked to me a little bit about that, yourself.
Yeah, like, you know, realistically, my dad was present for like my sport games when I was younger, but he wasn't present for anything else. And so I was raised by a lot of female energy. I have 2 male cousins who I've met once. All my other cousins, 4 of them, are all females. And I just get along with women. Like they're just more nurturing. They're more understanding. They're willing for you to kind of like rant and vent and be emotional. Whereas a guy is just like, dude, that guy's way too emotional for me. Like they just instantly peg you as a sensitive bitch and you're done, you know, where thankfully being able to express more, you find like-minded people who are more willing to share with you.
I mean, I feel like at one time you were talking about something and I was like, I think you just need to care less. And that was my advice.
Yeah.
And it was like, and like in my head, like that's solid advice, but it's probably not good advice.
It can go
Care less, bro.
Yeah.
It can honestly go both
Like,
ways.
Yeah.
Because the problem was I can care. Well, I'll make it just like a you. You can care way too much.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I overthink things.
Yeah.
Like when you and I were first becoming friends, I'll never forget this.
Oh, this is good because I'm probably dense as fuck.
It was I don't even remember what it was about specifically. It's probably about filming something. And I was with Tom Perry, and
shout out to Tom because he edits the podcast.
He edits the podcast.
Shout out to Tom, man.
He was sitting behind me. I think we were at his house. He was sitting behind me. I was on the floor. I was texting you, and I had written out like a paragraph, and I would like delete it all, and I'd write it back out, and I'd delete it all. And I remember him being like, how many times have you deleted that message? And I was like, what? Oh, like 4 times. And he was like, what are you doing, dude? Just like, who cares? I'm like, well, it's to Fudger. It's about this. And he's like, what did he say? He's like, you're one of the most anxious people I've ever met.
Huh.
And I turned to him and I went, what? And he goes, that's anxiety. And I went, what? Like, no. I'm just trying to make sure like my wording is right. And he's like, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you're very anxious. And I never, ever thought of myself
Put
as
it in
being
perspective
anxious.
like that. Yeah.
I do that all the time. Yeah. I'll text something out before I send it. I read it and I'm like, delete it. And then I'll spend like 10 minutes like, should it be like this? Or fuck it. And I just won't even send anything.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I mean, dude, I'm a fucking 40-year-old man that has like been dealing with bike riders and been to multiple countries, punched in the face in multiple countries and robbed in multiple countries. You know, like I've done a lot of shit and I still get nervous about asking certain people to do certain things because maybe it's not cool. And maybe they won't think I'm cool, and maybe they think that ourbmx isn't cool, and they don't want to fuck with it, and stuff like that. Like, everybody has those self-doubts.
Yeah.
Everybody does, and everybody is concerned about image. And, you know, I talk with my wife about things that get said on the internet, like via just comments of the podcast, like anything, you know, and she's like, I don't know how you deal with it. And I'm like, I've dealt with that for 15 years, and for the most part, none of it really bothers me. But every once in a while, some little fucking cut, it'll just get me just a little bit. It'll just get me a little bit. I'm like, fuck. Like, like if you don't fucking like it, maybe I'll just quit, and you won't even have a fucking problem.
Yeah,
you know, like if that's your problem, you know, like
but then it
just won't exist anymore.
Yeah,
you know, like that's the reality of it. Is that it can knock you down enough where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. And it's like, this loses money every time. And so I say that to people, and I don't think they realize it, but like, I lose money on this podcast.
Yep.
I don't. It's not. This is no fund. This just goes straight into the podcast. And so it's like, if people knock it, and it's like, and it gets me enough, I won't be motivated to do the podcast anymore.
Yeah.
And it won't exist.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make me money.
Right.
I literally lose money every single month on the podcast, let alone buying separate cameras just to make it feasible for me to continue. I'm thousands of dollars in the hole on the podcast.
Yeah.
But I do it because I love it.
Yeah.
But if I stop loving it, it's gone.
It's gone.
You know,
and
so it's
and like you said, if you let, like, to not steer away from what we're talking about, it's like if you let those certain things that come in, or certain things like take you away from why you're doing it, then it just take that one to push you overboard. Like, I'm out of here.
And I consider myself fairly hardened in that sense, where I don't necessarily, that stuff doesn't creep in, but I see it with other people where it's like shit can spin them out.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where it's like the careless thing, because if you don't care about it, it can't chink your armor, you know, like, and that's the reality, is like, I literally don't care about your opinion whatsoever.
Another shout out to my buddy Sequoia. He sent me a book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah.
That book is amazing.
Yeah. And I
forget the author. I'm really sorry.
That's such a good word choice too, because it is subtle. It is really subtle, because at a point you could be a dick for not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
He paints a really good picture in the sense of, he's not telling you to stop caring.
Yeah.
He's telling you, stop caring so much that you had to delete your message 5 times.
Exactly.
Stop beating yourself up. Care less about that stupid shit and give more of a fuck about being a good person, you know, or channel that energy into something that is actually feasible to care about.
Yeah.
So if people aren't hitting you up, or you go to a spot and like all your homies are already there and you had no idea, you know, stop worrying about that part. Give less fucks about that, and give more fucks about the things that are going to bring you more joy.
Yeah.
So that's a hard thing to swallow, though.
It is.
You know?
It is.
But
Because one of the things that's really crazy, humanity, especially for riders and extreme sports people, one of the first things that people will ask you is like, what was your craziest crash? You know?
Yeah.
And one of our earliest memories, I'm sure you guys are all the same, is trauma.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My earliest memory was breaking my femur in half when I was 2.
Yeah.
I remember every single moment of that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But I don't remember walking the first time. I don't remember first time I rode my bicycle.
I see.
You know, like the joy parts, they get subdued because of how traumatic. But if we were able to shift things into, we should have more of a memory cement of the joy than of a memory cement of the trauma.
Yeah.
But it's just how it affects us, you know?
Was it the phrase is like 10 positive things overwrite 1 negative thing, you know?
Okay.
That's the general sentiment, you know? But it's like that, it'd be great if we could, you know, put the same value on something positive as negative, you know, but it's a humanitarian shift. Yeah. Like, it would be the whole entire ecosystem of our world of all the humans would have to have that, you know? And it's feasible, but it has to be feasible in the minds of everyone in order to bring it to light. Yeah. You know, how did we get here? I know we're talking about being passionate, and I kind of lost our path.
Oh, he was talking about
it's like where I'm headed now.
Yeah, like so you're talking about the job and like
the job.
The CAT scan.
So the owner of Cafe Moto, I basically told him, like, I'm done. Mm-hmm. Like, I said, I just think it's too stressful in a way that I don't understand how to deal with it. And so I think to even go back into that world is just not going to work for me. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's been a good 2 years. And he was like, well, what about a service position where you'd work on espresso machines that are broken, or coffee machines? Like, you'd have your own station and you wouldn't even be in the warehouse. Like, it's a separate location. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, that's not a bad idea. And the fact that he's willing to even try that is really, really nice.
And it shows your worth to him. Because you have a good work ethic. You can be you are generally a positive person to work with. Yeah. He wants to hold on to you and to give you the opportunity to work in a essentially Amber's probably home.
Rock. Stop. Come here.
Essentially, I like she gets the mohawk.
Yeah. She's like, do I need to be tough?
Yeah. Essentially work in a field that you're not familiar with whatsoever.
Yeah.
And let you train.
Yep.
You know, like that's a compliment.
Yeah. And so that's something I'm digesting and all that stuff. But it's given this predicament that I'm in, I really have an opportunity to take advantage of accepting things that make me feel good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to tell him no, like I don't want to come back to work there, because I have a hard time saying no to certain things. And it also felt liberating, and it felt great to create a boundary, because I flat out told him, I was like, you don't really come in the back all that much, but there's a lot of drama in the back, and I don't want to just go back and work with those people.
Yeah.
Like, it just sucks, you know? Even if I had my own like station and all this stuff, and you can put in your headphones, like there's office drama with warehouse drama.
That you're talking about this. Like, I've always felt like someone's like auditing the people that, I think I talked about when we did a podcast about, if we're related to BMX, right? If you relate BMX to like a normal job, you have like HR HR that deal with like what's going on behind the scenes at work.
Mm-hmm.
So if the owners or the managers like kind of made sure that the people in the back had everything they need, you talk to them, seeing how everything is running besides like how good business is doing, saying like, oh, how was your day really?
Yeah.
How was your day?
Yeah.
Then if that person's like not doing good, then you know that's going to cause an issue if one person's slacking off. Well, why this person slacking off? This person required different things than this person.
Yep.
So with you speaking up and saying, well, I don't vibe back there.
Yeah.
Not just because like you can't, but more so because like that's not good for your well-being.
Yeah.
And speaking up about it. So hopefully that can kind of like create like a rift to be like, all right, I need to make sure that the people back there have everything they need, but also not just the thing they need, but they need to be heard, or like certain things they may need to require, like they may need to do their job better. So that's cool to hear that you like stand on that. So.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it just kind of, I got to a point where I had to, you know, and it's like all of the people that work in the back who I'm speaking about specifically, I'm not going to name them, but when we have like a little group meeting, oh, they're cheerful and they're nice, but the moment you go back there, they're like, fuck you, I'm not doing that. That's not my job. And it's like, bro, we all work together. We're all in this system together. Like, just because, you know, literally because I was a driver, I got treated differently, because it's like, oh, who gives a fuck? He's a driver. Who cares? You know, and it's like, well, you guys don't realize that I'm the face of the company when I go outside.
Yeah,
so a lot of the times, these people that I'm delivering to, they don't see the business like this. They see me. Yeah. And if I bring them, which is understandable, like, you know, I should make sure that what I'm delivering looks nice, but sometimes these people that pack the boxes, they just like throw stuff in. Yeah. And then we have to double check it to make sure everything's there. Well, I open it up and it looks like a kindergartner threw stuff in here. It's like, what are you guys doing, man? Yeah. You just make it double work for me, and it's just. Then
you got to take like, well, that person, next time you deliver something, that person may have an attitude with you based off of something you didn't even do.
Exactly.
It's like they need to build it from the inside out. Yeah.
And then there's those opportunities where, you know, we're all probably not getting paid as much as we maybe should, so we have less care with how we're going to handle it. And then it gets to a point where, oh, you're going to do this with 300 orders for the last 6 months that I've been doing this? Well, fuck it. Now I'm not even going to check the orders anymore. I'm just going to take them. If there's a missing thing, we'll figure it out. And then it gets to a point where you feel comfortable slacking, and then the slack just becomes more and more and more, and then everyone is slacking in such small ways that it becomes a big slack.
Yeah, then the company as a whole.
Then the company as a whole has like it has a problem, you know, and like I just don't like that, and I don't like people that continue that and are not willing to be like, all right, you're right, I've been kind of being a dick, or like I haven't been doing it the right way. I'll do it this way, you know, and it's just like, why? I just don't like that, and I know that every job with employees is going to have a certain like hierarchy and certain clique little groups. And I get that. And that's fine. Have your clique groups, but also have respect for other people that help create that business with you. Yeah. You know? You're right. And so that's the thing is like, I'll go back and try this again. But if I have any of those vibes again, I'm going to be like, yo, I'm done. Like, it's been cool. Thanks again. You
that's
know?
Cool. You deserve that. Yeah. You know? So what, circling back to kind of the Crohn stuff, getting better, and then the edit as a whole. Yeah. So obviously I made the edit. I slacked on it. We filmed for a long time, but it was definitely huge breaks in between. Yeah. But like when you said like, hey, I got fucking Crohn's, I don't know, my bike is taken apart. Yeah. I don't know when I'm going to be able to ride. I was like, dude, I got to fucking do this edit. Because, you know, in a sense, too, it was always like, well, maybe we'll film one or two things.
There was always something else.
Yeah, there was always something like, oh, maybe we'll do this or whatever. And it was like, all right, that's not going to happen. Let's do this fucking edit. Yeah. And obviously part of finding the song was hard, too, and stuff like that. But I wasn't actively, like, looking for the song for those months previous. But once the Crohn thing popped up, I was like, you said you were bummed, obviously, that like you're going through this, you don't feel good. Obviously, you didn't know what the future was going to hold. And I was like, let's fucking edit. Let's get it done. So he's hyped. And like, it's a positive thing in the middle of this, like, no pun intended, shitstorm.
Yeah.
Literal
shitstorm.
Yeah.
So that was essentially the goal and the spark for me to actually like, he saw it from the text side, that I would literally send him like 2 to 3 versions pretty much a night, because I would just work on it all day and be like, all right, I'm gonna quit. Here's where I'm at. And then like 2 hours later, I'd be like, I didn't quit. Here's another version, you know, like I would get a little bit farther. What do you think of this? And it would just like go, there was literally like 10 versions on the thing. It would just like progress, and I would send him updates, you know, try and keep you involved in a sense that you could see it developing as well, not just like deliver it to you in the end.
It was awesome. It's an unfortunate thing that got you to like get you riled up to get it. Yeah. But I was so grateful because I felt it. Yeah. You know, I felt that. I didn't want to be like, hey man, I'm pretty fucked up. Can you get that edit out? Like, I need some dopamine in my system. Like, can you please release that? Yeah. But it kind of came to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm probably not going to ride for months right now. I need to just deal with that. That's okay. And then the moment I saw how many texts you were sending me back and forth, I was like, oh dude, he's getting this going. Yeah. And it was perfect. Like that's kind of exactly what I needed at that moment. Like I needed it. Like, I don't want to admit that, but I will admit it because it did feel great. Yeah. And it still does, you know,
it should. And it's like you're looking at work you've done like that.
We were talking about the comments, I think like last week or something. Yeah. Responding to all the comments is something I try to be really good about because I'm not famous. So I don't have like 4 million comments to write back on, but 99% of the comments were positive. Yeah. And that was such a relief because I was like, oh, here we go. I'm just going to be getting dogged on, you know.
Good bike riding, but what the fuck is wrong with his face?
Yeah, just stuff like that. Literally. Stupid, or like that dude who was like, stunts, not BMX. And I'm like, oh my God, whatever, dude. Yeah. So, or the guy who was like, how did he say it? Like, even he's a pretty good rider for being bi or something. Like, what was the
you were crazy.
He's like, even though this guy's bi, he's still a good bike rider. And I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, where did that come into play? But all right, like, cool, man. Like, should have been like, do you mean I'm a bike rider? Yeah. Like, is that what you mean? Like,
yeah.
Bicyclist.
No, the responding to the comments, I felt like it was funny because I could see it. There'd be like 50 comments or 60 comments or something, and then I would check back like a few hours later, and it was like 120, like literally just doubled, you know. Yeah. But I mean, like, that had to be a task all this. Obviously you're not working, but
so I would just sit down. If I thought about it, I'd be like, oh,
it's an emotional task too, because like I had to talk with a few people about like responding to Instagram comments in general. Like, I try to get back to it, even if it don't have to be the same day, but I'd be like, well, why would you do that? It's like, I just get tired of saying the same thing. It's like, well, if a person was there when you got the clip, they're gonna be like, that was sick, what you gonna do? Thanks bro, that would appreciate it. That's you just go down the line, but it is a toll. Like, I'm sure responding to all those like comments on, and everybody's doing positive stuff too. So sure for
it's fun for me because I don't like to do a cookie cutter copy paste. Thanks, appreciate it. Thanks, appreciate it. Like, I try to have a different spin each time, but say the same shit. Yeah, you know. And one of the things, I'm very literal, and so I got to the point where I would write back like, so good to hear, and I'd be like, I'm not hearing this.
So good to read. Yeah.
So this is so good to read this.
So you catch yourself responding in the way the person responds. Like, if they leave an emoji, would you leave an emoji? Or if they left like a sentence,
I try to mirror it. If they don't put an exclamation point, I don't put exclamation point. Boom. Like, I try to mirror it. It's like if you're gonna write cool, I'll be like, thanks. Like, I'm not gonna be like, cool. Thanks. Like, I don't care. Like,
Unless it was Dennis.
Unless it was Dennis, then I screenshot it, I frame it, you know, I fucking jerk off to it every day. How many exclamation points was that? 3? Oh God.
Oh, it's good Dennis wasn't here then, huh? Yeah. He was super.
Oh, if he was here, he would be very uncomfortable. Yeah. I'd have a little semi over here. And say something again.
That bi
Dennis.
thing coming through.
Yeah, you know, I just appreciate a good male body. What am I saying? You know? What am I trying to say? It's got it going on.
Yeah, too funny.
Yeah.
Fuck, you lost me there.
That was the
I mean,
whole
I
point.
agree. I agree.
Well, since
I
like
agree,
I had a
but-
thought about like with the video part coming out and you getting back to just being your normal self, like off the bike, right? Do you feel like do you have any goals that you have coming off of such a great video, but also with dealing with the big change in your life? Do you have any aspirations to do more within BMX, more within just your personal life? Like, what are some of those things you think about or that you want to do?
So I think within BMX, the fact that I had been here for so long and didn't have really anything to show for it, which is Dennis's words exactly. I like that came out in the way that it did, because in a lot of ways I'm like, look, motherfuckers, like I can produce.
Yeah, you can.
You know, and I can produce stuff that's going to make you look. You know, like I can do things and I dress and act and my character will get eyes on stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to keep, once I get back into the zone, like let's keep filming. Let's keep doing shit. You know, like I still got spots. I still got ideas. And then in terms of life, I want to get more serious about music. You know, all this downtime I was in my apartment the whole freaking time. And realistically, the first month I didn't have a lot of energy to do a lot of stuff, so it was kind of hard for me to like want to freestyle and want to like kick a beat and like have fun with it. But then the more recovery time that happened, I started finding myself just like dropping a random beat on YouTube and like getting back into it, and like I know I'm capable of this, you know. So I want to get a little more serious with music. I'm probably going to buy some stuff to where I can be very self-sustained at home. And just create like basic beats or buy beats and to start writing more songs. And because that is something that I'm very, like I was telling you before the podcast, before we started, I'm intimidated to fail at that because I'm not very familiar with it.
Right.
But the familiarity I have is enough to where I know you take me to an open mic, you take me to a show and drop a beat, I'm going to entertain the whole fucking crowd. Mm-hmm. Like I already know what I'm capable of. I've been on the stage many times, you know? So I want to challenge myself and I want to do that more seriously because I know what I can do.
Yeah. That's what's up.
You know?
I love it.
Yeah, that's cool. Should we run through some of the behind the scenes of the stuff of the edit, because we did the 270 video. It hasn't dropped while we're filming this, but I have the rest of the raw cut. The dog is getting at its tail right there. But should we do that or should we?
I'm down to do that. Yeah. Why not?
So I posed a couple questions, or just like, hey, I'm gonna be on the podcast. Is there anything that you guys would like me to talk about? While you're getting into this seems like it'll tie in pretty well. This is from Tyler Wagoman. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, Tyler. You guys can keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
So Tyler Wagoman says, explain the kissing the spot and the bike, please.
Oh, yeah. That's
I see many people doing this. The many people doing this thing, I disagree with. I've only
seen one other person do that, I think. Yeah. Like I don't. Yeah,
I don't see
many
it.
people at all. So,
if you can jog your memory to figure out who that was, that would be really sweet.
Yeah. Who is it? God, it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't.
Is it a bike rider?
Yeah, it's a bike rider.
Nice.
Yeah.
Older?
Our age.
Our age. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was just, you know, Fudger and I talked about it with the raw cut. There's something that, for the most part, we're very separate of, and I'm including myself in this.
Ben Lewis,
really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's it, yeah.
Okay. Dude, shout out to Ben Lewis.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
He's the only other person I've ever seen do it.
That's awesome. There's just this, you know, the older I got, you start seeing things in different perspectives. And I essentially just saw bike riders as a whole from like outside. I would look at us as like ants. Mm-hmm. And not ants in the sense of like the swarm, but we come to a spot and then we just pick it apart and we just do anything we can to it. And then more people show up and we just start doing all this stuff and we're just destroying these little areas, you know? And what I realized was I've never really been around people that would show up to a spot And not to say like hippy dippy, let's grab some sage and smudge it, but like who's really there going like, man, I'm so glad this architect built this ledge like this, or built the building with a quarter pipe on the side of it. And so I found a way to kind of honor the spot, the space that we're about to come ride. Because for the most part, a lot of people view this as destruction of property, and we're being a bunch of criminals, you know? And so if that's already the mindset that a common person has, I don't want to continue that. Like, I want to show up to a spot, and if I'm ready to go crazy on it, I want that spot to know that I care about this space. I know it's an inanimate object. I'm grateful that this space is here, because what I'm about to attempt, I really hope this spot goes along with me and that everything works out smooth. And so that's why I kiss my bike. And it's hard to see, but on my top tube, since I have my dog now, I have a little dog paw sticker, and then I have a little piece of white tape with a heart that I draw on. And so I kiss 2 fingers, and then I touch both of those spots, and then I kiss whatever, my same hand, and I touch the spot that I'm going to jump, or usually it's like more of the launch, not necessarily the landing part, but it's just like a way to kind of honor the space and hope that everything's going to be smooth. Like, you know, it's just a way to be like, hey, I know you're here and this is super unintentional for what you were built for, but I have a cool idea. Are you going to be nice to me? Like, please be nice to me.
Nice.
Don't hurt me.
I like the idea of like giving emotions to like inanimate objects.
Me too.
It's it totally different in a sense, but like I do that to my bank account.
Like that, I should have started doing them.
You know what I mean? Like if you like spend a bunch of money, like it's like my bank account is like dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, like
sit you down for a minute.
Yeah, like think about this. You know, like, and it's like judging me.
Yeah.
You know, like dude,
Yeah.
you
Sending
know,
you all these highs and lows.
Yeah.
Make you feel great whenever you get what you're getting.
But I do that with other things. You know, you do it with cars all the time and
Yeah.
stuff like that. You do that with other things.
You
but
just
I never
to
thought
do
about it
again.
that way. That's true. Like
Yeah.
I like to hear that now, because like I think I do that in a different way without like even kissing the spot. It's like more so in the sense of if there's a lot of people around. A lot of my friends see me do this. Is like, hey, don't go over there. Stay out the way. Don't touch this. Move out the way.
Yeah.
So in the sense of like you're just making it harder to like be here or to appreciate the spot itself, even though we're destroying it at the same time. It's like, but that is pretty interesting to hear.
What I've noticed with you is your patience.
Try to.
When we've been out riding,
centered.
yeah, you're very centered and patient with a spot. Like,
Try to be. I don't know.
there's just a lot of people that I see, they show up to a spot and they just can't get their bag off fast enough to go hurry up and do the first trick, you know, or to hurry up and get a clip on the spot. And I've noticed that's kind of how I view my like kissing and stuff. You kind of sit back and you kind of just let time happen while you're probably in your head like, how am I going to get to this? Can I link it like that? Which is you not just jumping into space and like, I'm here, look at me, blah, blah, blah. You sit back and you just like, all right, well, this is what I want to do. Like, let's see how the space is going to be. And you give it time to breathe, you know, and that to me is along the exact same lines as what I do when I kiss the stuff.
I love it.
It's like you give it time to breathe, because just because you want to land and do a trick doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
100%
You know,
true.
it's just, you know, some people are like, how did you think that was going to work off of the 270 foof off of and it's not a 3-tap off of a roof, everyone.
Yeah,
like,
it's not a
does
3-tap.
anyone notice that my tire foofanues the corner? Like,
Yeah,
Jesus.
it's not a 3-tap.
How many 270 foofs do you
It
see
could've
off of a roof?
Well,
Like,
since we're going to call it 3-tap to foof, or one of those, we're going to call it a 3-tap to pole jam.
Yeah.
I know,
pole,
right?
That.
Pull pedal stall.
but there, you know, some people ask me like, why would you even have done that? And I'm the
It's
only
like, why
thing
wouldn't you?
but like the only thing I can say is, okay, there's realistic thoughts and then there's fantasy thoughts. I've got a couple fantasy thoughts there's no freaking way that I'm going to be able to survive my fantasy thoughts. But the realistic ones, I can see a small percentage of that happening. And as long as I align myself in the right mindset and it's the right time, those are going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, there's no avoiding it. Oh, the bank was so small. How did you want to land in that? It wasn't that small. It's perfect. Oh, the poles were barely bike length apart. I'm not landing sideways.
That's what made it cool.
Yeah,
that's
you know,
like,
it's
that's
literally,
part of the
yeah,
whole thing.
like-
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's literally, it adds to it. It's that's the whole point of it. Like
You were
people
built
ask
for
me
that,
question,
man.
Yeah.
You were the person
Yeah.
to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I passed by that spot so many times, and I thought, like,
Think
oh,
of-
it's a cool
that's-
little bank to ride around.
that's
just
a
like
center of San Diego on
Uh-huh.
a fairly major street. If you
Yeah.
take maps,
At
it'll push you
a
through there.
7-Eleven.
At a 7-Eleven.
At a 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Shout out to 7-Elevens
Yeah.
all over the world that have spots at them.
Yeah.
And get sponsored by
Fuck
7-Eleven.
the ones that don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
If your 7-Eleven doesn't have a spot, burn it to the ground. Let's
Yeah.
build a
To the
skate
ground.
park.
Yeah.
Let's run through some of these. So these are some of the. I think I tried to go kind of chronological with the raw cut, but these are.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think I put the note in the raw cut. Yes, my dog has a tube for a leash.
Nice.
When you forget your dog's leash,
Use
grab
a
a tube. So
Oh wow. Yeah, like right there. Okay.
Someone also asked me how many leather vests do you have, and do you have ones for like riding and like ones for just like going out? Like, no, I've had 2 my entire life. This one in this clip is the second one I've ever had. The first one was a bone death one, and when you have a leather vest, every occasion is okay to wear a leather vest. So you don't need to have a going out vest or anything.
from a filmer editor standpoint, this is the one one mistake in the video is that down just a little bit more, so I turn it up in
So
post.
sick.
But oh yeah, this was that was my idea. So
Yeah.
I have my moments. But
Yeah, because before I was just like 3 tapping to like tire grab something,
Yeah.
whatever. And you're like, what about 540? And see, I couldn't reach that spot, so I'm not just gonna leave and like not touch it.
Yeah.
Even though based on like the setup and like all that, like it was pretty obvious if you have the speed, you're gonna be fine.
But I mean, it goes to show
So
there is no
man, I
there are
love it.
very minimal roll ups.
Yeah.
Like this is another sorry overcooked.
Have you ever
the
jumped
color
that hip
from-
there?
The
one
hip
you
is
were just
good.
the one you were just standing on?
No,
Oh, it's scary.
from the-
like from the mini ramp.
No.
over the
that's
like
the
bar
only time
over
I've
the
ever
fence.
ridden
Yeah,
that. We rode it for like 40 minutes. That was it.
place is super fun.
That was-
Savage.
That was so fun.
That was one of the situations where I think maybe you thought I was looking for cars, and you're like, "You good?" And
Yeah.
it was like, "Is it good?" And
Yeah.
I was thinking just selfishly, and I was like, "I am good."
And you say it right here, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yeah.
I was going no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
That it was clear. I was saying I'm good. I'm good.
I'm like, well, I was just,
Now or never.
going.
Because I mean that's a fast road, so that car
Yeah.
was definitely going like 50.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Yeah, so these are early on. We filmed all of these like within the first week or something, and then we took like a
Huge
several month break. So
Yeah, that was still on the bone death frame. Solid Bike stem. Shout out to Solid Bikes. Still have that stem.
nice.
Now actually is best. Time. All right. Sorry. We'll do.
Oh, is this the guy walking by?
Don't want to miss that one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I know you don't want to miss that one.
I mean, look at that thing. Is just asking to be jumped off.
Oh,
Like,
it looked big from the bottom, so I know it's huge up top. Like
Yeah.
any roof, doesn't matter how big
And
it's small, it
that's-
seems big.
It's one thing to jump off of it, but it's like you have to go past the sign,
Yeah.
which like makes it. Hopefully, people
Wow.
there's a
and I ate my ass in that one.
yeah.
I definitely ate.
Yeah, that got slow mode in the video, but that I mean I think the real time one shows how fast you were cruising at the bottom.
Wow.
Oh, I thought I was done.
Anytime landing in the grass, I know people are like, "Oh, land in the grass." I'm like, "But
That's
you
the beautiful
land-
thing about BMX people. You can do whatever you want on
Anything.
anything. So
But
there's no
landing,
rules to
I
this.
mean, look at the divot right there. Like, just I thought I was gonna just get sucked into it.
Dude,
Yeah.
I ate my ass.
Yeah.
Think about how limited you would be. Just think you're limiting yourself when you don't do something based off of what people think.
Yeah.
Like that, it
Yeah.
just doesn't make any sense.
This was so fun. So we had ridden like all day. I want to say we went up almost into LA area, and it was like Gary, Tom, and myself, and we stopped here on the way home. Obviously, it's nighttime, and we started riding. What is this, Carmel Valley? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw that pole, and I was like, dude, that
Oh,
would be
that's
so
so wow,
sick
man.
to hit that pole. But it was, I forget what time of year it was, but it was like misty.
cold, yeah.
It was cold, and dew would form on the pole. And so every time I would go to do the pole tap, I'd have to go up and wipe it off before I went and did it, because literally the first time I hit and slid. And thankfully I got
no.
my bike over the fence in time, but I hit and slid, and so I was like, fuck, every time I do it, I have to go wipe the pole off. So it was such a mental thing where I'm up on the quarter pipe, like, okay, you ready?
Battling, trying
Am I
to like,
ready
make
now?
sure you can
Okay,
do it.
I'm ready now. You know, and like wipe it off, and then drop in and like hurry up and go back around.
This is a very unridden skate park in San Diego. Not many people go there. Everybody knows this park for the topside ice from Joe Riley in the background.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
the only like
Well,
thing.
and
And then people ride off the
Yeah.
awning onto the.
I want to do.
Ooh, say it out loud. You got to do it.
I want to drop off that awning into the quarter.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that'd be
That's what I want to
amazing.
do.
Yeah.
I
Ty
mean,
Morrow did the double peg to wall ride 180 back into the quarter pipe.
Double peg
Up that rail
Shut
to wall
up.
ride the quarter pipe all the way 180 back into the bank.
Ooh, I forgot about that one.
Whoa.
Shout out
Say it
to
again?
San Diego's newest
He's
resident.
coming back, yeah?
Ty Morrow.
Really?
really?
He's coming back?
He's coming back in like 10 days.
Oh,
Nice.
what? I didn't know it was
8
that
days.
soon. Shout out
8
to
This
him.
days.
spot's about
maybe.
to get
Yeah.
blown up.
Yeah.
Man, that's sick.
So he double pegged up the rail.
up the rail
Yeah.
to gap to wall to 180 back into the quarter pipe, like closer to the wall. Yeah,
That's
I'll
and
see
that
it,
wall's
I'll see
not-
the clip later.
that wall's
It's pretty
not
wild.
close.
It isn't. And
It
it's like
is-
that. It's slippery. All that stuff
Oh,
is slippery
yeah.
too.
that's
and
awesome.
you want to jump off the awning into the quarter pipe and not the bank, right?
Yeah,
That's
because I
wild.
saw what's like Dennis did like a 3 can.
There's been a
Three
few things like Mike
can-can,
Mike
three
Gray
tire
did
grabs
some
on
stuff
Mike
too.
Gray
yeah.
and
Brad
Tyler
Moore. Did
Finagle
Brad
do
Moore
some
do
stuff?
something?
I mean,
Finagle
you just got to foof that bitch.
dude.
Oh my god! 3 tap.
Got all the
Oh,
wins.
3 tap.
3 tab.
Oh,
what?
well,
Oh,
there's some weird pipes on top.
yeah. There's like a box.
There's
You can
like
do
some-
tap
stuff,
on the
yeah.
pipe.
I mean, it would be like 4.
I'm just-
It'd be like
I'm
4
just giving
3.
shots
It'd be
at
like
the
4
first
3
one.
taps.
We'll keep it moving because I don't Demarcus got
Time-wise.
13 minutes before he needs to leave.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but this one's a cool clip.
Yeah, cool clip. It's a fun
But-
little spot. Just not really a whole lot you can do there.
Yeah,
But that worked out nicely.
That was a lot, and that was sick.
literally
Yeah.
just said
Yeah.
that works. We talked about.
Yeah,
we
we
got
talked
that separate
about all
video,
that
so
stuff.
we'll go. Oh,
Oh, here we
so
go.
that goes to show the timeline though. Basically, that he did the wall ride first, and then we came back at a later date to do that.
So now that you've brought that up to my attention,
Yeah.
I went back and watched it, and it's like you're on a different frame.
Yeah,
I'm like, how did
yeah.
I not notice
Yeah.
I'm on a different frame? Ah, this one was.
That's
Dude,
scary,
I went
man.
to Chula. I went to Chula the other day, and I told people about it. Like they're like, "Oh, this is that," and they're like, "Oh my god, it's so,
So-
fucking scary."
I gotta give. I'm talking over this because this is embarrassing to hear this part of myself. I
Champ
gotta
stance.
give major props to Chad Curley because he was there on a session that I just happened to pop in at, and I don't know, we were like up top there, and I just happened to look at it, and he's like, "You definitely got that," and I'm like, "You think?" And he's like, "Dude, that'd be so badass."
Bro,
And it
anytime
was
I
just-
see something like that, I
It
think
was just
any-
kind of like a back of my head thought, and then the more that I kept going there, I'm like, you know what? I think this is doable. And I kept practicing, like getting the speed, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna really do this comfortably, but yeah, catching the camera, I was very impressed with that.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, someone
Slid
left a
at the home
comment. I was
plate.
like, you know, you're a pro when you crash and still catch the camera.
Oh,
As
yeah.
I said, I place a camera in a situation like that, and I've already write it off. Basically, like
If anyone's ever been to this skate park, you know how diverse this park
It's
is.
very diverse.
It's like
dude.
it has 3 different sections that don't really connect or flow together.
And it used to be a vert ramp there too.
And yeah, it used to be a
And-
big
yeah.
old wooden vert ramp. And the bank that I come up to do this on is just like a big wedge. And so I had to pedal pretty fast, and then all your speed is done by the time you're up to the top of it.
I'll show it.
And then you just got to pedal your tits off. But yeah, that right there, like
Yeah,
that
it's
bank
pretty
just
ab-
kills
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's one of the more underrated clips in the video.
Yeah.
That's why I opened up with it. But like that dive in right
You're
there,
literally
like
floating
that
for a while.
moment,
The
right
moment-
there. It's
dude.
like
That's when it felt so good.
and you
'Cause,
come unweighted. Like
Yeah.
watch it.
like
right there, yeah,
you can
yeah.
you see it from the next view.
Yeah.
I totally come off the ground. Yeah, that felt so good. Oh, that felt so good. Oh, that was a fun one.
oh,
I like
yeah.
the sympathy. See, that's the thing too. Is like for somebody when you're making a video and it's like you're showing emotion and and that was like part of my goal with the video is like to show like you in a sense, but like also just like the energy,
buildup.
yeah, the energy and
Yeah.
like the celebration and stuff like that. And like there's a lot of people that don't care for that stuff of like patting yourself on the back,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like fuck it, dude.
Dude, are you
like I
kidding
would
me?
have fucking
If
died. There's several scenarios where I would be like fucking melted and off
Yeah.
my bike for a very long time. So I'm pretty fucking happy that
Yeah.
I'm good.
And if there's no one in your corner, and you're not going to be in your corner for yourself,
Yeah.
you got to reevaluate that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You need to be your own cheerleader.
And
I wish we-
case in point,
I wish we could have cheered for this one.
right?
Gosh, this was just. So did I find that piece of wood? Yeah.
I think you brought it.
So I found that piece of wood somewhere in like an alley, and I just threw it in the back of my truck, and I was like, we can use this for something. And I had this idea to jump off that quarter and Reuben wall ride that thing, but obviously there's no embankment. And I had wall ridden the other one on the other side, but it wasn't a Reuben. It was just like a normal wall ride, and I would land to like tire tap on the ledge. And I just had this vision, like this would be so sweet, but also, you know, I don't think of myself as someone who, unless someone wants to do it now, if anybody wants to build with me a better landing of that, I'll pull this. Like, I want to do this,
Yeah.
but I need a proper landing.
I think I mean, it was a long time ago at this point, but like I think I remember when you pulled out the board, I was like, that's thin.
Yeah.
Like I just remember being like, that's pretty thin.
And if you see there's like a white sign that says something at the very top of that, I used an old tube and I cut it up and folded it a bunch of times because there's a screw that is sticking out, and I like
You envisioned being
I
there.
envisioned hitting that screw
Yeah.
with my back tire was
Yeah.
like essentially where I was aiming, because I don't want to have to go further to like the left or the right because there's not that much space.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole thing width-wise is like maybe 4 feet, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the wood itself is like 2.5,
Yeah,
3.
it's definitely thin.
It's not a full sheet,
Yeah.
that's for sure, or not a full width of a sheet.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't working out. It just didn't feel right. And Gary was there. In a lot of these clips, it's probably not realized, but Gary has been there for a lot of these clips. And since becoming friends with Gary, since moving here, you know, it's one of those things where Gary's like, he's up here.
Yeah.
You know, it's Gary Young. When I started texting him and he like remembered my name, I'd be like, oh my God, it's Gary Young. So when he started coming along with us and riding with us and be the point where he's like, you got that? Like, you know, like we went and rode Paula Pool, and I remember Gary saying something like, Maddie, you got homework. And I was like, Gary, say it again. And I'm like trying to do this move. You know, I was trying to Abubaka the love seat.
Oh
and
yeah, for the little day edit thing.
yeah, a little day edit. And I was trying to Abubaka, and I just couldn't get the fakie because the more the sun was out, the drier it got, and it was slick. And I probably tried it like 18 times. I was so beat up. And I hear Gary be like, you got it. Like, you got homework. Like, we need to get home and do your homework. And I'm like, say it again.
What does that mean? I'm not following.
To me, it was like, hurry up and do it because you have to get home to do homework.
Okay.
That's how I interpreted
Yeah.
it. But I also just,
Must have just been a joke at the time.
it's just
yeah.
Gary Young
Yeah.
telling me I got it.
Yeah.
You know? And so for a split second, I was like, okay, I got it. I was like, no. Gary, will you say that to me again? I got it? Okay. And it just solidifies stuff.
Yeah.
There's something about Gary telling you got it that just works. And at that wall ride, I was struggling trying to dip, and like that quarter is weird. I just couldn't quite get the angle. And I went up to Gary and I was like, what am I doing wrong? And he's like, well, you're not doing too much wrong. I don't really want to get in your head too much. So like you're close. And then I eat shit and like almost separate my shoulder.
Yeah.
And after the fact, he was like, I wanted to tell you to try to aim more like this, but I didn't want to stop. You were so close to getting it that I didn't want to, you know, change your thought process.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, what do you say? And so I'm grateful that he let me go through it, and I'm grateful that I did it and like survive and everything. Someone asked about that crash, like how gnarly was that crash on you? And I was like, it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Like I thought I definitely separated something. And let's see what. It's great. I can't even remember what shoulder it was.
Left shoulder.
Left shoulder.
Yeah.
And Gary was like, touch your other shoulder, and like doing that, he's like, you feel any pain? And just the fact that I could do that, you know, just the fact that I could do
No,
that.
right shoulder. That's the one you're
Yeah.
holding. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it was right. Okay, I'm like, left, right,
Yeah.
whatever.
That's
It
good.
feels. I still feel it a little bit now, but it's so much better. But yeah, I was out for 2 months.
Yeah.
I went home and hugged ice, and I was on ice therapy for as long as I possibly could, and just like keeping my arm to my body.
Realize you were jumping a bit.
Oh, that's right. I almost hit the blader. See how quick he moves his
Yeah.
blades too.
This is just a random one. I think we went up to that weird music festival or something like that and just got this.
Oh, that is what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like 9 a.m., 8 a.m., kind of early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that whole, I mean, I think there's been a lot of stuff from there. There's definitely some more options to do there. It's such a weird park.
At this spot?
Yeah.
Yeah, those slides look fun and
Yeah.
like. Yeah, those slides definitely look.
That was cool.
Kind of ran into it. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that was. I was like, I want to be up here, and I was like 3 feet lower than what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So
good.
sick.
But I love that slow motion.
Yeah, a little tight shot kind of put it in perspective for people, I think.
That was good.
It's cool how it shows.
That was good.
Shows bouncing off.
Way to go, Maddie.
Dude, that whole like 3-tap over the thing that we were kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah, this clip, I think this is the sleeper clip of it. I think
Yeah.
it's
Oh
fucking,
my god.
Another one of the other questions was asked was like, how did you prepare yourself for that? And I'm like, I went up on the roof and saw that it was an embankment and a roof. And what do you mean? How do you prepare? You
just one of those days.
Just one of those
Yeah.
days where like we show up to this roof and we see this like creek flow, this like tiny little water stream flowing through. And Gary and there, he was like, I can't ride it. Like there's no, we can't ride this. And I saw that roof right there and I was like, dude, that'd be so dope to do a fucking jump off that roof. And then I thought like, well, how many roof jumps am I going to do? Like, why don't I just fucking table it? And yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, shout out to Gary for he had all these clips. It was like literally, I think I had the edit pretty much finished, and I was like struggling with some like timing of clips in general, and I think I pulled a clip or two, like kind of the roof, the freeway, Bubica or whatever,
yeah.
and it was like, Gary, I see you in the background. Like literally, it's like there's Gary
Yeah.
holding your dog, and he has his phone. I'm like, do you have that? You know, and he's like sends it, and it's like, you know, one of the last things I added to the edit.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's cool that it's just like,
And hey, come to find out, that's a pretty famous spot that goes back
oh really?
a while. Yeah, someone hit me up.
Was
What
it
did they-
skate stop?
What's it say? It's
Look, yeah, it looks like they tried. Something.
Yeah, they tried. They called it the Twin Banks. It's called the Twin
Heard of
Banks.
that? Yeah, I heard of those.
In I think they said V Town Twin Banks or something. I don't know what town we were in. I have no idea.
Here's the infamous 270, which you'll have to watch the other video for that. We could go on forever, but Demarcus has 2 minutes and 24 seconds, so we're gonna have to say bye to Demarcus at a point.
There's always
Those dad responsibilities come through,
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
there's always those things that you want to one up yourself. I should have jumped onto the
Dude,
picking
that's
tables.
so sick, man.
How
It's
sick
cool,
would have been
though.
to jump up on the picking tables. I want to go back and 3 it. I
That'd be
really
cool.
do.
You got it.
Yeah, because you're landing in mulch. The landing is good. This is just all about centering myself. Just
Such
Yeah.
a sick setup too, because you're jumping over like a little drain off of a lip, then it
Yeah.
gets pretty tall. But like the way you're
the
boosting
lip
over
is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, look at it.
yeah,
Like,
hopping the
pop up,
curb over.
Yeah.
perfect.
That's so good.
That
And
lip
plus,
was-
it's like a mile from Dennis's house, and he hasn't done anything.
Don't tell him that.
He knows.
I know he
exactly
knows
where,
it's
he
there.
knows exactly where it's at.
Yeah, that was fun.
This is the clip that we dropped. This is like full on COVID, basically. Like there's, I said it. Spot is literally on the 5 freeway, but it was just kind of slow for the edit, and the song had slow spots, and it fit, but it was like a little too slow, and it just like I feel like I feel like
that thing,
I almost feel like I could have filmed it a little bit better from the drop side,
Yeah.
and that would have made it a little bit cooler. I mean, I think we got the one little random clip, but it just like didn't fit in
Yeah.
with like the exit, like you want to show that you like we're in complete control
Yeah.
type thing,
Yeah.
So it was just a hard clip to.
This is just one of those
piece
things
in.
that
So wow.
when
But look that whole
Oh,
clip. That
my-
whole clip, one car went. That's the northbound 5 freeway.
Yeah.
Like just for
Well,
people that were.
that's Pacific Highway,
Oh yeah, that's PCH.
technically,
Yeah.
but still,
But that's the exit to go.
That's- yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean,
it was so dead.
yeah.
And that was I had been riding my road bike past that, like where that car just went. I'd been riding my road bike past that for weeks and weeks and weeks. I was doing this like event job where I'd like help like set up spots like with chairs and tables and stuff. And I'd ride by that and I'm like, dude, that's a perfect quarter pipe.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Like that would be so cool to get something on there. So I'm stoked to even have that done. This one,
I think did we do the same day?
no,
No.
no, different outfits,
Yeah. Yeah. This is more COVID. So
no cars.
Yeah.
No cars, no parking
And that's-
blocks.
yeah,
There's parking
spot-
blocks in front of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, now there's
Yeah.
parking blocks.
It's 110 demo.
We'll go to 115.
115.
Yeah.
But yeah, this spot was pretty sweet. So I had never seen this spot, and then during COVID was like, all right, well, I'm going out. I'm tired of being inside. I'm gonna go explore. These are some random dudes who are just like shooting
Yeah.
weird photos for who knows what.
Flickr or something.
But I discovered this bank when I was in Little Italy, and I'm like, whoa, this is sweet.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
And I just realized like how awesome of a bank it was. And so just kept coming back. Like I had already filmed a couple little things on my own, just like my own little phone doing stuff. But I really, really fully wanted a 540 Hurricane that.
Oh yeah.
That was the main goal, was a 540 it. And I just couldn't
Wow.
that other 180. It was something, I think this is going to sound like an excuse, but whatever. Every time I touched and my tire touched on that, it was like the curvature of the pole, because it was such a small diameter. When I would touch and go to yank, the way that my tire was on, it would send me in a weird position to where when I'd go to spin, I was kind of tilted, and it was just hard to get the full yank.
You're a pretty precise guy too, and for you to know that shows a lot. Cause like watching you ride in person and watching you do food stuff, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
You're pretty calculated.
Yeah.
Like hearing you say that, I know that that's actually what it was.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
It was because, I think the one that I actually pulled, I'm a little to the left, if that can even make sense. I'm a little to the left of the pole, and that just, it's sitting
So
me.
wild,
Oh, God,
man.
this one.
Is it? Yeah, this is a good.
Yeah. So this is where a little bit of anger comes in. I get upset because things aren't going my way, but this is how I center myself sometimes, is I need to just do push-ups. Psycho.
Yeah, I call him a psycho, but I would say that to your face. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
And then see, I'm like, okay, I'll get up, go say hi to the space.
We're gonna be friends. Come on.
See, give it a little love tap.
And then next go.
And this is just how I had to do it. I had to foof it first. I can't just go straight into it. Got to set that up.
Boom.
God, it felt good.
So it's so funny how quiet it
It
is.
looked
out there.
good.
It is really
Yeah,
quiet.
it's downtown San Diego.
Barely any flights too.
Yeah, we were trying to shoot. We were trying to get that foofanu with the plane or whatever, and
And it wasn't every 2
it was
minutes.
literally
Yeah.
every like 25 minutes.
Yeah,
we were
dude,
like
it's
sitting,
crazy.
standing around for a while. It was like never mind.
We'd miss one. All right, we were off.
Yeah,
There's
like,
one.
Yeah,
yeah.
we missed it.
I don't know why I was like thinking like vertical for a second.
I know, I saw that,
in my
Trevor.
fucking brain.
It's such a cool shot, though.
Yeah,
it's
it's
pretty
alright.
sick.
I could have done better, but
It's all right. Me,
I think we did all right.
Me foofing and stuff. Oh, jeez. So
Beard.
here's the
Was here for this, yeah.
Shaved my face
I think you just have to.
And this is
four-
oh yeah.
4 days before this.
And this is stuff we were filming for like a GT project, but shout out to GT for, I was like, can I just use some of these clips? Like even just it was mostly just the fall. Like I was
Yeah.
like the fall like kind of like brings everything, all the other crashes together, and like
I was really
in a visual sense, you know.
I really wanted to get my other tires back on the curb again. So I was so in my head
Yeah.
about
This is one of the ones where it
landing.
was my idea gone bad. Basically, I was like, yeah, you could like air it and then hop back on the curb,
Yep.
and then like like in like a Chase D style
Yeah.
clip, you know.
and it just I was
Yeah,
already
you were there for this.
Yeah,
I was there,
for
yeah.
fucking- yeah.
I
like
was
talking to you.
already my brain was already on the bank. Like I was already on the bank.
Yeah,
as I
dude,
hopped
that's how
on.
it happens, man. I've seen
Yeah.
Colin do
Yeah.
that a lot. Like, you've seen it in different video parts from him where he would jump on something skinny.
Yeah.
And it's like you're so focused on the thing. After that,
You're on step 3.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
forget about
Yeah.
step 1. Yeah,
Exactly.
I've done that
And
many
now-
times. I've fallen dropping in
Yeah.
to quarters multiple times in my life.
And now I look at a curb with like a whole different appreciation. I'm like, that's right.
Yeah.
You need to be, and that's another reason why I think it's great to give thanks to the space, because it helps you become more aware of the space. And it kind
you're
of
reminding yourself to like step by
like
step. not
all of
just-
these little things are here.
Don't skip them. Yeah.
Don't skip them, because you can't skip them. You can't skip that curb up to the thing, because then how would you even get up to that thing?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Like it's an integral part, even though it's tiny and you're used to this.
Yeah.
You know.
Then this
So I can just see how pale I am right there. I didn't have I passed out later on that day.
Did you?
Yeah. I fell on the floor in the bathroom.
Yep.
You gotta go.
Yeah.
Marcus is out.
Thank you, sir.
No, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
But like,
That's
hey,
dad
I
stuff.
appreciate the
Absolutely, man.
pretty insightful. Very, very. Yeah.
Well, and it's good to talk with you because you have capacity for those conversations. You know?
I hope people do. I hope people get like a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Well, at least like for the things that you talk about that are super personal. Even with health, try to like make going to the doctor normal.
Yeah.
And also like taking care of yourself. If you have some ropes in the back while your friend grinding the rail, go get those ropes out and exercise. Baby. But even talking about that stuff is pretty good to at least try to take care of your body just in case if you are sick or have something come up, then your body can take it. Because if you weren't like, just say if you weren't exercising or if you weren't trying to be healthy, it could be a completely different thing.
Yeah.
So but like
100%.
thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, the old nail in the board.
Oh,
this whole scene. I'm gonna fast forward through some of it, but this whole scene was basically we just went out to film some stuff for the Claw Carbon Rim review that still hasn't come out because fuck my life. But this is just a joke. This is just a joke that just turned into
Just went all wrong.
yeah.
It wasn't that bad all wrong, but it just didn't fully mature.
Well, it cost you a fingernail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My fingernail's much better now, but it is definitely changed from that.
Yeah. I think the idea the thing is kind of funny because like just that straight on shot like in the trailer you're like what the fuck is happening, like dude is like all over the place, landing in trailers, doors, like so.
It's pretty funny to have clips that you don't get answers to as well.
Yeah.
Because people were like, "What were you doing in that?" I'm like,
Who knows?
Who knows?
We had no fucking idea. Basically.
We had no clue. We figured it would.
Were
that was like one of the best ones.
Yeah.
Did it?
I thought you pulled that one.
My foot came off, but I didn't touch. My right foot.
I think you did.
Do I?
It does because.
I touched.
Yeah. Because I may have used the clip outside of that if it didn't. But it did.
Yeah.
I don't know if I touched, but it fucking came off.
Same story. It's so crazy how quick our reflexes are that we get convinced that we didn't touch.
Yeah.
We're like, no, we didn't touch. And like the whole balance thing of that.
Yeah, that one. Your head movement is like. It basically what it boiled down to is after watching all these clips, that door is just way too heavy.
Yeah.
Oh, Roxy, you want to be host?
You come up?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Let me get the mic. Lower the mic.
Could probably get her to speak.
I like that though. Yeah.
Science.
So silly.
Yeah.
It would have been pretty
Cursing
funny,
Tate Ross Kelly.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So that was I don't think I slow-moed it, but like that. So you could see.
If you see my left hand,
that's
boom, right there.
Yeah.
My thumbnail just got destroyed on that.
And then little bar cheek action.
Oh, I did hit my.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Oh, it hit my helmet.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I kind of speared it, but
I did not notice that.
That is weird. Like you could see how quick because look at the bar move from there to there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because it hits the ground.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
And then I'm just wrapped up in my bike.
Yeah. But you laugh.
Quick little rim promo.
Yeah.
Well, laughing is what is that called? When you're like afraid.
Yeah.
It's like a coping mechanism.
Yeah, coping mechanism.
It's like if you're about to get in a fight with somebody and someone punches you and you go like but they actually hit you really hard and you just want to be like, "Oh, that was nothing."
Yeah.
But no, you're actually fully scared now. Yeah, thanks Tate.
I think is this the last clip we filmed? Oh no, duh. Fucking Banger is the last clip we filmed.
Oh, I was like, I don't even remember what the last clip was.
So at this point, I had hurt my back, and so I was a fucking disaster. And so I was always thinking like, this is going back to the conversation earlier. This is where my head is at. I'm like, fuck, I'm just standing there while they're lifting up the thing, and I'm like, somebody's gonna think like I'm not helping, and I'm like,
Fudger.
yeah, like, but
yeah,
you were. That's it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I still have my like head case, like perception image issues, you know. So, And yeah, I don't know if I feel like I got worked up about the podcast comments, but whatever.
Podcast comments.
Yeah, just the I said I lose thousands on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
The podcast is part of our BMX.
Yeah.
But in a sense, when you need to make money, we pay people every single month. And it's like if you have an aspect of a business that continues to lose money, generally you as a business, you don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But like I enjoy doing the podcast, and I don't want to search out. I don't want, like as you said earlier, like, oh, do you ever do a commercial or like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like, no, we're going to take a sponsor break.
Yeah.
Like I don't want that. I think that's kind of corny.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not actively searching for sponsors for the podcast. I don't care if it makes money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, negative comments can permeate your perception of something, and especially putting myself out there and talking for hours at a time, and somebody goes, yeah, that guy's a fucking idiot, or that guy's a dick, or I don't like him, it's like kind of gets you a little bit, and it's like, yeah, you could fucking kill it. Who knows? I could kill, like indirectly, but like, but I'm not close to that.
And that's like to make it about like a personal thing. That was one of the slight fears of coming on here. A lot of people are only going to see me as this.
Yeah.
They only see me as the Instagram thing. And I keep a lot of my personal life under wraps. Like you don't know what I'm going through. You don't people didn't know certain things about my life because I'm not out and, about it. So that was one of the other things where I'm like, oh man, if you sit me down with people that I'm comfortable with, I'm going to start opening up and sharing stuff. Yeah. And if that doesn't get well received, well, I'll have to deal with that later, and realistically, I don't care because I like being open, and we need people to be more open. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to, because there's like a fear of being exposed, but then the amount of exposure that you allow yourself to be will actually bring better people into your life. Yeah. Yeah. Plain and simple.
Not under false guises of being a certain way and then you're not actually yourself. Yeah. So, banger clip. So I drive by this all the time.
So do I.
Yeah, and so I was like, I'm going to send this to Maddie. I'm going to pull over on the freeway because that's the best vantage point to show this spot. And I'm like, I send it to you. Pull over on the freeway, shoot the photo from the freeway. I filmed the clip from the freeway. And you went and looked at it yourself separate from me, and you're like, fuck. Yeah.
Super doable.
Yeah. So
I came up with a fake name. I was going to join a garden club just to get access to the fence, and somehow it got opened,
Yeah.
So it's just how
but I mean, like that, dude, I get, I don't, because you brought up Garrett Burns, there is a little Garrett Burns-esque,
of course,
from that clip,
that,
like, is big.
That's why I'm paying homage to certain people and moments in BMX history. Like, that's why I'm wearing that Anthem shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's like this is the stuff back in the era that convinced me that this is one of the most amazing sports ever. Yeah. And BMX pulled me away from soccer, pulled me away from baseball, pulled me away from basketball. Yeah. I was an avid jock. If you knew me back in not high school, middle school, if you knew me back in middle school, I was an arrogant piece of shit who was a jock. Like, this is what I was. And then we found bikes, and it was like, whoa, I don't need to rely on anybody else to do this. This is just me. Mm-hmm. And you get to watch your friends land tricks and get stoked. So yeah, I needed to pay homage to the people that got me excited about bikes. So it's why this type of setup had to be done with an Anthem shirt.
That's like, sick. It just that's sick. I didn't realize that it was.
That was the whole. Yeah. I mean, of course, I'd love to wear my leather vest in this, but I didn't want to cover up the Anthem shirt. Yeah,
that's sick.
And that was like, I'm wearing this because even though it's like a remake, obviously, and it was for Sean Burns, to help him with his spinal injury, and there's just something about, like, before going there, I put it on, and I felt the mid school kind of like flush over me. Even though I have never really left the mid school, I just felt that, and I'm like, this is one of those things where I just want to pay homage.
That's cool. That's what's up.
Yeah. And what's hard to see in this clip is when I turn around, I have to bunny hop over some pipes. You'll notice it right here. I bunny hop over pipes before that on loose fucking gravel, and it just worked out perfect. Yeah. That worked out so well. I already told you I want to go back and one up myself, but I don't know. Maybe that roof is just so sturdy.
It is.
And knowing that we can scrape that much of the gravel away made me feel pretty good. I was nervous it wouldn't scrape that easy.
Oh,
I scraped a good like 5 feet of it. Yeah, that was such a. And then someone else asked like, "What's up with the hugging the bike?" And I'm like, well, I'm not talking shit about how people react to celebrations, but I threw my bike one too many times in the past, and I've broken parts.
Yeah.
From a celebration. Like, I'm happy and I throw my bike and break something. It doesn't compute in my brain.
Yeah.
So no offense to people who do that, but the majority of people you see doing that are probably pretty well off sponsored.
Yeah.
And they get parts if they break them. And so I just started to flip the script on that, like kissing my bike.
Yeah.
Hugging my bike.
Yeah.
Having.
I think there was a lot of reactions to that, like in the sense of like.
Oh, I thought I was going to get made fun of. I thought I was going to get trolled on so hard for that.
Well, you didn't know. I mean, like, I think you knew where the cameras were, but I don't think you're like, I'm going to hug the bike in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Like, that was
no
real.
Clue.
Yeah,
that was just
real.
that was like right as I picked it up, I'm like, I just want to pull you into my essence. Like, you helped me in so many ways, like just to be a normal person.
Yeah.
That bike is a therapy outlet.
Mm-hmm.
It is a vehicle of expression. And if you don't look at it like that, well, I hope you do at some point.
Yeah.
Because that is something that is allowing you to paint and distribute your art form. And if you don't love it, you got to reevaluate your stuff.
Yeah. That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
That is it, I believe. I think we just had just some random credit stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah. Do I have time for one?
Yeah, you got another question?
One more question?
I mean, that was a good statement at the end, so this better be a good question.
Well, it's from Carlo Wick. And he said, it was cool that you and your boys did the old Dirt Brothers spots edit. Did you know all those spots? And personally, I did not.
Yeah.
But that was something that I actually wanted to ask you, and we can end it on this. You have such a integral part of the San Diego scene. I know there's probably more than just one. What is like one of the most, and I don't even mean crazy as in like tricks, or just what's one of the most influential moments that you've had? Doesn't even have to be in San Diego.
Yeah.
But just the fact that you've been filming for so many years in this, what's something that has really set aside in your mind?
I mean, I always think that the craziest photo that I've ever shot and project that I've ever shot was the Tyler Silverdome Red Bull project.
Dude.
So that's like my one where I'm like holy shit, like that was something incredibly special just for the history of that entire area and football and it crossing over and just honestly the experience of being in that building for whatever it was 10 days. Like I had never I missed it. Yeah. Like I woke up and wandered that building and it was like when that your phone, it was like at the beginning when your phone like tracked your steps or something, and it was like I was walking like I was doing like 13,000 steps or 15,000 steps, like somewhere between 10 and 15 and 20,000 steps.
Cruising around it.
Just walking the stadium, and it didn't change every single day because the stadium was so big and you could go into the fucking bowels of it. And literally, it was covered with moss, and it was just like such an insane, creepy fucking place to have access to.
You had access to it,
yeah, 100%.
So it wasn't an illegal thing.
No. Yeah, it was. We had total access, and I mean, Red Bull didn't want us to put it out, but we were like fucking destroying building, like glass, like the size of the entire wall, like throwing fucking chairs through it and stuff like that, and we were just going fucking nuts, and like being on the top of the building and like. I mean, there's so many like I don't know if I've ever said this one in public, but like Tyler being fucking crazy, we're on top of the stadium. Like there's
he wanted to go from there, didn't he?
No.
Oh, okay.
Fuck no. The thumbnail for the entire video is like literally we're on top of the stadium, on top of like an air conditioner unit or some sort of like electrical thing that is like a storage container size, and he's doing a hot bar, and I was fully like. I was like, hey, you should go out there and we should do a hot bar, like for a photo because you could see the entire fucking stadium. Yeah. And I'm on the corner of this thing and you're literally like, it's not like if I fall off, I'm still going to fall like whatever, 10 feet. But it's like you can see the whole thing and it's so fucking crazy just visually. Yeah. And then at a point we're up there and Tyler's like, oh, and he fucking climbs down and he's on the outside of the stadium and he's hanging on to a bolt like the size of like maybe the microphone, like your hand size, like about that thick. He's hanging on like a pretty hefty bolt, but for whatever the size of the stadium is, the highest point, that's what he's hanging off of, like 120 feet. And he's like, "Oh, shoot a photo," and I'm so like freaked out that I'm like, I shoot the photo, but it's like totally out of focus, like just totally like fucking. I'm like, yeah, I got it, like you know. And he like looks at it, he's like, "Nah, like let's redo it," and I'm like, I'm walking away. Like I'm not participating.
So
Sorry.
that's like one of his things. He likes hanging off.
He likes hanging off shit, and then we were like breaking stuff. Like I think I have a couple photos, like maybe him throwing something, and Red Bull was like, "You cannot put that out.
Yeah.
Like you're fucking breaking."
Destroying.
I mean, it's what else is that? They're
It's
gonna
an abandoned
they're gonna
building.
destroy the entire building.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna do it, but like just the act of like
Yeah.
destroying something. They're
Yeah.
like, "Nah, you can't do that." And it was like we were just fucking wrecking it because we were there for so long. There were so many different downtimes
Yeah.
and stuff like that while they're setting up shots and stuff. It was just like. But it's such a cool thing to be a part of, and then that truck, and the I mean, fuck, we do a whole podcast on it. Like Tyler wanted to do some other stuff, and he like fucking, it was fucking scary. It was like a roof derail, and then like a 3 off, and it was fucking gnarly. It was like a banger of anything else, you know. And you know, he like broke down and fucking cried, you know, because it was like he was up there for hours, and he's got like 30 people like.
Waiting on him.
Yeah, like obviously supportive,
Totally.
but in the end, it's like me, him, and somebody else, and we like just go somewhere else, and he's like, "Fuck, dude, like so much pressure and just like all this stuff," and it's like this is yours, man. Like if you're not feeling it, don't fucking do it. Nobody's gonna be like, "Where's that roof derail that they didn't know ever existed?" You know, like edit's still gonna be good. Like
It was
focus
such an amazing.
edit. You know, and it's like, and then the truck and him fucking hitting that thing and that guttural sound he made. Yeah, so I'm going off on a tangent, but that literally, it was like, and then the photos were fucking everywhere. It was like one of the photos was like Red Bull's like second best photo of the year.
Wow.
It was on the fucking. I shot the photo. Like basically, I ended up shooting the cover of the sports page for the San Diego Union Tribune, and the photos were like other places too. And it was just like, it was just weird. It was just a cool experience.
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
like it's definitely one of the cooler ones. And then there's been other scary ones. Kaczynski at El Toro, Morgan photos, double loops, like stuff like that. You know, so there's been some, and even Kaczynski's rail cover. I don't know, is it up here? No, that one. That's one of the Gary's thing, which
huge
I
pipe.
don't know if you can see it. Where the fuck am I? I don't even know where I'm in the own fucking podcast.
Nope, it's out of the shot.
But like that whole scenario is fucking amazing. Like one of the gnarliest things that I don't think anybody ever can comprehend.
Yeah,
you know?
and like
so
the height that is over that thing.
he's running a 38 gearing. Because he was running and that was like, and that's the amount of speed that, because he was casing and he got a flat tire, and Adam Watkins was there and he was running an 8, and so Gary was already running like a higher gear.
He just grabbed his back wheel.
Yeah, and he literally just started from as far back as he could, and he's like, this is the last one. Like I'm gonna give it every single thing I had, and he's literally. I mean, if you look at that photo, I'll
He's
have to
5 feet up.
I mean, from the lip.
Oh, from the lip,
he's
he's
same thing. He's like 10, 12 feet.
Yeah, easy.
Like,
he's
fucking
over
insane.
basketball hoop
Yeah.
height.
How do you not just like let your bike go and be like, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking
too
die?
high.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah,
insane.
That's
so,
amazing.
but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool moments.
Yeah,
But,
it's just good to hear because you've been so around it for so long.
Yeah.
You know,
And like I said, it kind of gets a little, like I said, hardened at a
course.
point. You know, I get a little desensitized to certain things. But then sometimes I'm like, it's fucking impressive.
Yeah.
You know, like so it's cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah, but make it fucking about me. Jeez, dude. Got me going. So, but thank you, Maddie.
Thank you.
You know I love you.
I love you.
I'm glad to see you're doing better. Fucking healthy. 20 pounds back.
Dude,
So
getting up there. Got 5 more pounds to go back to 185.
I know there's a dude out there that I've seen him comment that he has Crohn's. So you know, like I think it was a different subject, but he was like, yeah, I'm living with Crohn's as a disability, and so it's real for people that if you hear this shit out there, like. And Maddie filmed with this. He was you didn't know it at the time, but you're dealing with this shit the whole time. So
and the thing that's crazy is like it's such an individual thing. Like everyone experiences it in their own ways.
Yeah.
That riding actually helped because it would take my mind off of stuff. And like I said, I would ride and I wouldn't feel anything. I would just be like, I'm riding, here we are. I'd stop and I'd get like those weird bubble guts. And I'm like, dude, this is so crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to people. And like, I didn't want to make it public until the podcast, you know, cause I'm embarrassed. It's an embarrassing thing, but with the people that know me, I'm not embarrassed, and they connect me with other people. And sure enough, I realize, hey, it's okay that you're kind of having discharge in your underwear. Like that's okay. Like it's going to happen for a while until you get this figured out, you know?
Yeah. The human body is a crazy thing. You get older, you find out you're not fucking invincible.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, you know? So it's important to talk with people, because even though other people, and in a sense too, you opening up about stuff, it gets other people to open up and be like, wow, I've been going through something as well. And it's a healthy thing to figure out that you actually have a support system that you didn't necessarily know about. So for the general people out there.
So if you guys have any questions or any advice or suggestions or anything, feel free, hit me up. You know, I would really appreciate it. I've heard from quite a few people, and knowledge is power. Yeah. So give me some more power.
And invite him to dinner.
Invite me to dinner too. I'll be your dinner guest. Just make sure it's a low FODMAP type of food, and like, you know.
I'll send you my dietary requirements.
Yeah, I'll send you all the restrictions.
Thank you guys.
Peace.
Hell yeah. You're the first one, and I'll say it'll be the credits over this.
Okay.
You're the first person that I didn't have any questions written down.
Oh.
Out of all the podcasts, because I knew it would be good no matter what.